You can never have a free mind. If you believe that what constitutes intellectual value must always conform to a set of rules that are ultimately subjective. Humanity has failed morally, scientifically, and otherwise enough times for this to be a self-evident reality. You can never have a free mind. If you believe that what constitutes intellectual value must always conform to a set of rules that are ultimately subjective. Humanity has failed morally, scientifically, and otherwise enough times for this to be a self-evident reality.
Now, goddamn it, Bobby. I don't care what Chris Mellon said on Fox News. You're not giving money to that Blink-182 fella.
But Dad, they promised to build a spaceship.
No one's building a spaceship, Bobby.
But the Daily Mail reported that...
Those people are all insane.
They come to me with some of their results, and I basically said these results are shit. So I'm sorry to the people who are so friggin' impatient that they won't get off their butt and go learn this stuff and do it themselves. I'm not your daddy. I'm not here to do things for you. I'm sorry. Get out of your basement and go do something. I've seen some of those snap your fingers reports, and they're garbage. Publish the darn paper. Stop claiming that. This is shoddy work. This can't go anywhere. Who did this? It's crap.
I got scrapings off Jim's balls. I got scrapings off Jim's balls. I got scrapings off Jim's balls. I got scrapings off Jim's balls.
And can I just say, even though I'm not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
What you're seeing here is momentous.
You think that's alien technology?
Yes, I do.
I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top.
We have new, conclusive proof.
Testable evidence of alien technology.
Tad over the top at times.
Is it possible to exceed the speed of light? The answer is yes.
The biggest discovery in human history.
Promos for our story were a tad over the top.
New evidence that has to be seen to be believed.
7 News Spotlight, Sunday on 7 and 7+.
Not entirely comfortable at times with the way they sensationalize in their promos, because I thought the promos for our story were a tad over the top at times.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval,
these are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will. These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will. No kidding, non-human exotic origin. No kidding, non-human exotic origin. No kidding, non-human exotic origin. No kidding, non-human exotic origin.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Quite a number.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash retrieval, what do you mean? When you say crash retrieval, when you say crash, when you say crash, when you say crash, when you say crash, when you say when you say
We are potentially on the brink of UFO disclosure. We are potentially on the brink of UFO disclosure.
It depends how you define disclosure. It depends how you define disclosure. It depends how you define disclosure. It depends how you define disclosure.
We are potentially on the brink of UFO disclosure. We are potentially on the brink of UFO disclosure. Skeptics and UFO believers. Skeptics and UFO believers. Skeptics and UFO believers. Skeptics and UFO believers. Lou Elizondo, Jay Stratton, Travis S. Taylor, disclosure. 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 Government's knowledge of UFOs will end with facts. Government's knowledge of UFOs will end with facts. I will say that the disclosure process could implode. I do not deny that. I do not deny that. Lou Elizondo, Jay Stratton, Travis S. Taylor, disclosure. 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 Skeptics and UFO believers. 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 Skeptics and UFO believers.
Greetings and salutations, skeptics and UFO believers, and welcome. Tonight is the, I guess you would call it Thanksgiving evening. And I don't know about you, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow and spending some quality time with family and filling my face. And I hope you will be too. Tonight, we're going to be exploring all of the fake information, disinformation, misinformation, and garbage peddling going on about one Gary Nolan and his so-called SOL, S-O-L, Foundation. I think that it's interesting that the UFO propaganda channels, and by that I mean this guy who calls himself UFO Jesus, nothing says credibility like having public relations done for you by a guy named Jesus. That's great. And by the way, I just want to say that you're a disgrace for taking that name. You're no Jesus. And while I won't be judging you, someday this so-called UFO Jesus is going to have to meet his maker and be judged by his creator. And, sometimes I think, like, what's that going to be like? Like, hey, I gave you, talents and abilities. What did you do with them? Well, says UFO Jesus, I offended probably the world's largest religion, billions of people, by claiming I'm Jesus, but attaching it to aliens and UFOs. And then I became a mouthpiece for liars, scammers, grifters, and people selling fake alien stories. And I have done that for 7 or 8 years of my life. And we don't know. He could keep going doing this for the rest of his life. I have a feeling he's going to be 70 still telling us that disclosure is coming. And by the way, one of the ways that you know that he is wrong about everything he's saying now is because he's been wrong about everything he said since the beginning of his YouTube channel. Remember, he's the one who told us that disclosure was coming in days because TTSA was launching. Yeah, same guy. Now, he's got to really, really, push this Soul Foundation. And what you will notice if you watch any of this fake Jesus's videos is that all he does is repeat the talking points of the scammers selling the fake stories. He did it for Lou Elizondo. He did it for TTSA. He's doing it right now for Gary Nolan and his foundation. His track record matters. And if you literally helped people scam people out of money for a techno scam in the form of TTSA, maybe you should get off the internet Maybe you should apologize to all those people who invested in a scam because you were helping pump it, and get off the internet, you clown. And we're going to be going over, it's so funny. I wasn't sure how to approach covering this Soul Foundation, but the interesting thing is, it just happened across my feed that this UFO Jesus clown's video about the Soul Foundation conference came through my feed, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because listen, I'm all for people sharing information, making videos, sharing their opinions. But if you're reporting on the Soul Foundation and you are not including the information about just how many wackadoos and scammers were involved in that UFO conference, people who have, many of which have been involved in shady investment scams. What was it? Hal Puthoff and Christopher Mellon were both speakers there. So that's great. Let's get two people who literally ran an investment scam where they lied to investors that they had a board member that ran a Pentagon UFO program that never existed. Let's get those two guys to speak at our conference, because nothing says credibility like letting two guys that were part of a big UFO scam a few years ago to speak at our conference, right? And then what's with all the anti-disclosure activity around this conference? Remember, you weren't allowed to tweet during it, and you weren't allowed to take any pictures or video or record anything. This is an organization that wants UFO transparency, but you're not allowed to tweet or oh, you gotta love the hypocrisy. And before we begin on tonight's major presentation, I just want to talk for a moment about credibility. Listen, if you have an organization and you want to be perceived as credible, maybe it's not a good idea to have speakers that have been involved in UFO scams before, who lied to the public about one of their board members running a Pentagon UFO program that was a $22 million program that he didn't run. Maybe you become a joke when you do something like that, but maybe that's just me. And I do think it's really funny that Hal Puthoff, there's something called the Encyclopedia of American Loons. Yeah, that's a thing. The Encyclopedia of American Loons. And Hal Puthoff, one of the speakers at this conference, is in the Encyclopedia of Loons. You got to love it. Very credible. And who else is there? Well, Whitley Strieber was in the audience, and Russell Targ, who got fooled by magic tricks and thought superpowers were real, and Hal Puthoff. We've got Leslie Keene, the writer of that horrifically fake New York Times article that was just filled with lies, half-truths, and terrible, terrible reporting of fake facts. She was one of the speakers. So what we've got here is a whole conference full of liars, grifters, and people who've been involved in UFO investment scams, who lied to the public about building a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that's going to change the world. Invest in our company. I'm still waiting for my spaceship. I don't know about the rest of you. Nothing says credibility like having Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ at your conference. Two men who were fooled by children's magic tricks into believing that people had superpowers. And let's not forget, Hal Puthoff and his wife were also very high-ranking Scientology members. And Hal Puthoff claims to have superpowers. That's right. Hal Puthoff claims that while he was a Scientologist, he got superpowers. He got remote viewing superpowers from his Scientology activity. And if he's a high-ranking Scientologist, that must mean that he believes in Xenu and the Thetans and all that wackadoo stuff. And hey, let's not forget that Hal Puthoff, one of the speakers at this conference, is literally in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. And let's be clear, my word for it is wackadoo, but other people like the word loon. He's a wackadoo. He's a loon, and he's speaking at this Soul conference. And but before we get too deep, let's also recognize and understand that Gary Nolan has sold his credibility, in my opinion, to UFO scammers and grifters who needed some help from a scientist to sell a fake alien or UFO story. He's done it at least 2 times now, one with that Atacama humanoid, right? I'm sure he blames that on Greer, however. That was a great thing. You get a deformed baby and you pretend it's an alien, and you can't do DNA tests before you rush to grab millions of dollars out of the UFO community. You can't wait a few weeks and get the DNA results that say that thing's entirely human and not alien before you rush to make the millions of UFO dollars. And by the way, fair question. How much money did Gary Nolan make from that? Because I'd like to know, but he won't answer my phone calls, apparently. How much money did Gary Nolan make to be in a documentary with Ross Coulthart, who, by the way, he was also at the conference, the guy who's been caught selling at least, 4 completely and totally fake UFO and alien stories in the past few years? Maybe it's 3. I don't know. I know it's 5 stories total, but one of them wasn't about UFOs. Nothing says credibility like having a guy who keeps getting caught selling completely and totally fake stories about aliens at your UFO disclosure conference, right? You got to love it. And then, of course, Grush was one of the speakers by Zoom, and he essentially lied and said he was in Washington, D.C. to help move the ball forward, right? No, he was in Washington, D.C. because he planned to be there for that SCIF meeting. That's my opinion. Who was in Washington on the day of that conference? Nobody. They all went home. No lawmakers were in Washington. No, I'm sure there might have been a few. I don't know, but there's nobody to move the ball forward with. He lied and said he was in Washington, D.C. To move the ball forward. It's great. Just have people straight lie to your conference attendees about why they're in Washington, D.C. No mention of that SCIF that got canceled because nobody cares about David Grush because they've all realized that he's a wackadoo with no evidence, a former mental patient who's telling stories about aliens and UFOs with zero evidence for, count it, 170 days now. No evidence from Dave Grush. But this didn't stop all the disclosure bros from getting their disclosure boners really hard because, according to the people at the Soul Foundation, we're halfway through disclosure. That's right. Somebody introduced somebody and said, I just want to make sure you understand. We're halfway through disclosure. Let that sink in. Halfway through. Did I miss the first half of disclosure? Let me know in the audience or in the live chat. Did you miss the first half of disclosure? Disclosure would require evidence of claims being made. And as far as Grush, we're up to 170 days now. Still no evidence of any claims made. Now, there is an excellent, there is a YouTube account, which interestingly, one second, a YouTube account that interestingly covered some of this, and we were able to get some information because, it's very hush-hush. So we'll begin with what he said that David Grush said, and I'm going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work, and this is someone called Planet Hunter 56. I think he's sort of a true believer, but he's still kind of grounded a little bit. I prefer those to the total wackadoo true believers. He says, Soul concluded a bit ago with a short but very poignant presentation by David Grush, who joined via Zoom. His comments verbatim: imagine a future where we no longer need to speculate about our place in the cosmos. The release of info on NHI has the potential to unite humanity regardless of the ontological shock that would ensue. Yeah, and according to him, he has all that information. Why won't he release it? We're at 170 days, still no evidence. Disclosure will involve the releasing of info in a controlled and planned manner. This is a new era of spiritual awakening. See, they always get into the woo. We are in a paradigm shift with the power in our hands to transform our world. Well, if he can transform the world with the information he has, why has he waited 170 days and he still hasn't actually provided any evidence? Next, he says, we are working towards a more enlightened and interconnected world. So Dave Grush going full woo for the disclosure, they need Dave Grush to keep those disclosure boners hard. They really need him. So he had to come up with some woo, I guess. And this is interesting. So I also want to show you a few more posts from this person on Twitter who apparently attended the conference, who apparently enjoyed it very much. Now, on to the connection between Hal Puthoff and Dave Grush. I've been saying for a long time, my working theory on Dave Grush is that he has no new information. He has no sources that we haven't heard of before. All of the sources so far, all evidence points to, all of the sources are UFO wackadoos. And the original gangster of being a UFO wackadoo and paranormal wackadoo is Hal Puthoff. And I believe in the recent Joe Rogan interview, he directly referenced Hal Puthoff as super credible. This will tell you about Dave Grush's discernment skills, because apparently Dave Grush didn't do 5 minutes of research into what a loon Hal Puthoff is. Dave Grush, if you're listening, I just want to make sure to inform you, the person that you're praising in that Joe Rogan interview as being beyond reproach is literally in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. You may want to rethink that beyond reproach. He was fooled by children's magic tricks into believing that superpowers were real. And he claimed in a paper that he has remote viewing superpowers himself. Very problematic, but interesting. I thought I was one of the few people that recognized that when David Grush was referencing this PhD, he was talking most likely about Hal Puthoff, this person that attended the conference that included Dave Grush, virtually at least, and Hal Puthoff says, I don't think I'm the only one that thinks there is a Grush-Puthoff intimate connection here. Dave Grush on Joe Rogan, his contact, I need to introduce you to somebody. Listen to that person's academic credentials, which were beyond reproach. Well, maybe his academic credentials are beyond reproach, but he's still a wackadoo and a loon. PhD level education, clearance. His resume was insane. Hey, there's a program. I was on it, and we were reverse engineering crashed material that we've recovered over the decades. And of course, Hal Puthoff co-signs, this is the wackadoo prover maneuver. When you get one wackadoo that has no evidence making fantastic claims to prop up the claims of another wackadoo making fantastic claims with absolutely no evidence. It's called the wackadoo prover maneuver. Hal Puthoff at Seoul. I've known David Grush a long time. I back up everything David Grush has said because he would not have achieved the positions in the military in the U.S. government that he gotten if he wasn't legit. His military career and how well he did in the military has nothing to do with him making fantastic claims. So there you have it. At the Seoul conference, Hal Puthoff, a man who was fooled by children's magic tricks into believing that people have superpowers, who also claims to have superpowers himself and believes in the galactic overlord Xenu from Scientology cult, and was once a high-ranking Scientology cult member, is saying that I back up everything David Grush has said. This is like a text. I'm going to have to save this one. This is a textbook example of the wackadoo prover maneuver, right? If you got two wackadoos and neither of them have any evidence of anything they're claiming, just get them to, blow each other or, back each other up. I'm sorry. I should have said that. I apologize. Yeah. So we'll get into more though on Mr. Hal Puthoff right now. Because, sometimes I say these things and people call me a liar. No, Hal Puthoff was fooled by children's magic tricks. This is from, I love this, the Encyclopedia of American Loons. So who do we have here? Oh, wait a minute. Let's go back here for a second. Let's go back here because this is important. Let me just share the picture. So what we have here at this Seoul conference is one former mental patient who lied at first and said he didn't have any mental problems. Then later claimed, I did, but I got treatment. I'm okay. Spent some time in a mental institution and then became a whistleblower with no evidence. Then he goes to the Seoul conference virtually, and Hal Puthoff is saying that he backs up everything this mental patient, Dave Grush, says. And Hal Puthoff, who is backing up the mental patient, has a listing in the Encyclopedia of American Loons So we'll read from this. Hal Puthoff is an engineer and parapsychologist and one of the true legends of pseudoscience. In the 1970s and 1980s, Puthoff directed a CIA, DIA-funded program at SRI International tasked with investigating paranormal abilities. We also have to recognize and understand that he was in on Skinwalker Ranch. He was in on OSAP. He was in on the TTSA techno scam with Lou the Liar Elizondo and Tom the Gomer DeLong, right? And Christopher Mellon, and they all defrauded the public out of millions of dollars while claiming they were going to create a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world. And they defrauded the American public out of millions of dollars, in my opinion, because they lied while they were collecting that investment capital. They also lied and claimed that Lou Elizondo ran a Pentagon UFO program that never existed. He had no assigned responsibilities around UFOs. In other words, whatever he thought he ran at the Pentagon had nothing to do with UFOs. So they lied to investors while they were collecting investment capital. And by the way, I'm going to get an interview with an SEC person, and I want them to explain to me how that was legal. Could it be that maybe somebody with political connections could keep the heat off of them? Maybe. This article goes on to say, collaborating with Russell Targ, who was also a person that was fooled by children's magic tricks into believing that people have superpowers. He was also at the Seoul conference. In a study of the purported psychic abilities of Uri Geller, Ingo Swann, Pat Price, Joseph McMoneagle, and others as part of the Stargate project, both Puthoff and Targ became convinced that Geller and Swann had genuine psychic powers. They were using children's magic tricks, and trust me, they were using children's magic tricks. I'm allowed to do trust me, bro, once in a while, aren't I? But there's substantial and supportive evidence that is correct. Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, PhD level scientists, were fooled by con artists using children's magic tricks into believing that superpowers are real, which doesn't exactly speak too well of their methods or critical thinking abilities. Some of their research was summed up in the book Mind at Large. When psychologists attempted to replicate Targ and Puthoff's remote viewing experiments, they seem to have invented the term, by the way, which is really just a fancy name for clairvoyance or telepathy. By the way, Lou Elizondo also claimed to have remote viewing superpowers, right? Why don't these people just remote view where the aliens are being kept and tell us all about it if this really works? No, it doesn't work. And by the way, Mick West just posted an excellent explanation of why these stupid CIA superpowers projects were all canceled. And essentially, spoiler alert, they were canceled because remote viewing doesn't work. Okay, so they were unsurprisingly unable to replicate the results. Accordingly, they investigated the procedure of the original experiments to see whether they could explain the discrepancy, and thus discovered that the notes given to judges in Targ and Puthoff's experiments contained clues as to which order they were carried out, such as referring to yesterday's 2 targets, or that they had a date of the session written on the top of the page. They concluded that these clues were the reason for the experiment's high hit rate. In other words, they helped these fake superpower people cheat the tests. One may wonder why Puthoff and Targ put these clues in there, but you probably shouldn't. In fact, investigators, Marks and Cowman, were initially able only to investigate the few actual transcripts Targ and Puthoff had actually published to find out whether the unpublished transcripts contained cues. Marks and Cowman wrote to Targ and Puthoff requesting copies, which Targ and Puthoff refused to supply, which is pretty unusual in scientific context. Marks and Cowman were nonetheless able to obtain copies from the judge who used them. And guess what? The transcripts, of course, contained a wealth of cues. They were helping these people cheat. And by the way, while they're doing that, they're collecting taxpayer dollars for these stupid as shit fake superpowers tests. And they were getting paid by that money. Maybe they had a financial motive to pretend superpowers are real so they could keep those CIA checks rolling in. Who knows? The article goes on to say, in other words, if Targ and Puthoff weren't frauds, They must have been extraordinarily delusional, possibly even by pseudoscientists' standards. Subsequent tests of their hypothesis were negative. Moreover, students have easily been able to obtain Targ and Puthoff's desired results based on the clues left in the transcripts alone. Though Bunk, Puthoff, and Targ's experiments are still harvesting press coverage from the credulous or spineless. In 1985, Puthoff founded the for-profit company Spectral International, and a purportedly scientific scientific research organization, Institute for Advanced Studies, where he is the director. Puthoff and EarthTake were granted a U.S. patent in 1998 after a 5-year delay due to a controversy over their claim that information could be transmitted over a distance using a modulated potential with no electric or magnetic field components. The case is still used for educational purposes in patent law to illustrate that even for a valid patent, even a competent examiner may fail to distinguish innovation from pseudoscience. People literally use his patent as an example of fake science and a fake patent and how stupid the patent system is. Great. Puthoff is famous for his promotion of zero-point energy. Remember our series on free energy scams and scammers? We really did a deep dive on that. Free energy is not real. Neither are superpowers. But Hal Puthoff thinks that's real. And by the way, Zeno, whatever, the Church of Scientology Galactic Overlord, that's not real either, just in case you're keeping score. So Hal Puthoff has a history of believing in totally wackadoo things, like free energy, like remote viewing, and people having superpowers when they're really just using magic tricks. And it is pseudoscience. Of course, Puthoff's work on ZPE lacked transparency and scientific backing, and as such bore a striking resemblance to his psi work. It is worth mentioning that already in the 1960s, while a devout top-level Scientologist, Puthoff wrote in a Scientology publication that he had achieved remote viewing abilities during the ascension through Scientology ranks, and that Scientology had given him a feeling of absolute fearlessness. He later severed all communications with Scientology. Though it is hard to believe, Puthoff seems to be a true believer, which makes his systematic and striking failures to make his experiments methodologically sound all the more interesting. Probably harmless by now, but his legacy continues to silify the internet. So that's who's co-signing for Grush, a complete and total wackadoo who believes in Zeno the Galactic Overlord, who believes that people doing magic tricks really have superpowers, and who once stated that he had superpowers himself. This is the information that, by the way, the UFO propaganda pieces like that Bangkok Matt from the UFO propaganda show, the good propaganda show, and this UFO genius, genius, he's far from a genius, slip of the tongue. These UFO propaganda shows that are getting everybody's disclosure boners hard and doing cartwheels about the Soul Foundation conference, they're not telling their viewers what a wackadoo Hal Puthoff is. And by the way, UFO Jesus has a history of leaving that out, because he has mentioned Hal Puthoff being some kind of disclosure hero in his videos multiple times. Never mentions that Hal Puthoff is in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. And by the way, that article needs to be updated because that person, I guess, didn't know about the TTSA techno scam that Hal Puthoff was involved with, Lou Elizondo and Tom DeLonge and all the others, right? The CIA bros, right? Why would UFO Jesus not? Isn't it important that that guy's been involved in UFO scams before when you're reporting on what he's doing now? But this is the false nature of reality that some of these people live in. They just put blinders on. Let's forget that the guy told everybody he had superpowers. Let's forget that he claimed that he had inventions that didn't work and bothered the patent office for 5 years for a patent that shouldn't have been handed to him. should have been given out and is used in classrooms to teach pseudoscience patents and how they can get past the patent process. This is great. So Hal Puthoff is the original gangster of, in my opinion, scamming the money out of the government. He was involved with Harry Reid with the money for Skinwalker Ranch investigations. That's $22 million. How many millions of dollars did the government give him to study people doing magic tricks and pretend they have superpowers? In other words, Hal Puthoff is a wackadoo. There, I said it for you, UFO Jesus, because you're too cowardly to tell your audience the truth, you pussy. Let's move on. So there were some other speakers of important note. I shouldn't have been personally insulting. I apologize for calling them that. You know, vaginas have an actual use. You know, people like vaginas. Nobody likes UFO Jesus. Like, he has no use other than helping UFO scammers sell completely and totally fake stories by leaving all the facts of their history and history of being wackadoos out of his stories like a coward. And by the way, you live in a delusional fantasy world, UFO Jesus, and I'm going to prove it. Because 7 years ago, you told everybody disclosure was coming in a couple of days. Why? Because Tom DeLonge said that disclosure was coming in a couple of days. You remember him, the guy who told everybody he was going to build a spaceship with a revolutionary power source that would change the world and collected millions of dollars and then didn't build shit. You remember him, UFO Jesus, right? But it gets better because a lot of people are leaving a lot of important information out about this Seoul conference, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give you all the information. We're going to give you the full report of these wackadoos, the full report of all these wackadoos that were speaking at this conference and their history of lying, scamming, grifting, and being completely and totally dishonest in order to make money off of the UFO scams that they run. All right. So besides Hal Puthoff, there was a few other interesting speakers there. Of course, Gary Nolan, who we saw in our introduction, complaining because people still want to see the test results of the ball shavings where, you remember that, Gary Nolan and Ross Coulthard in their promos for that documentary they made, which, by the way, was so incredibly filled with deceptive practices, they had to take it off of YouTube because it was a complete and total lie. They scammed people to click on the video. How did they do that? By saying in the promos that they had conclusive proof of alien technology, all confirmed by this man. Then they cut to a shot of Michio Kaku. Michio Kaku didn't confirm any alien technology. In fact, all Michio Kaku did is talk about theoretical physics in that, just like he always does. All right, so I'm going to skip Carl Neal or Nell. I've heard his name pronounced. I don't know if it's Neil or Nell. And then we have this idiot who's one of the co-founders of this organization full of wackadoos and liars. Peter Skafish said the following right before he introduced Leslie Kean and Hal Puthoff for their discussion. We're in the middle of disclosure. Not the beginning, but the middle. Let that sink in. So this wackadoo is saying we're in the middle of disclosure as he's introducing Hal Puthoff, a man who was fooled by magic tricks, who believes he has superpowers and believes in the Xenu galactic overlord. And he's saying we're in the middle of disclosure. He's introducing Hal Puthoff, who believes all those things and is a complete and total wackadoo and ran the TTSA techno scam and collected millions of dollars from the public while that organization was lying to everybody. Great. And he's also introducing Leslie Kean, who lied through her, I guess, keyboard, not teeth, in the New York Times article and purposefully left out information in order to, sell the story. Didn't actually vet Elizondo's claims, just accept Elizondo lying to her, claiming he ran a government program. So this wackadoo is introducing these other wackadoos who believe all this wackadoo shit and keep lying to people and in some cases, allegedly, scamming people out of millions of dollars. And he's saying we're in the middle of disclosure. By the way, great job on reporting on Leslie Kean lying to everybody in the New York Times article, UFO Jesus. No, UFO Jesus was completely behind that New York Times article. His disclosure boner was so hard it almost popped when that New York Times article came out. And all he did was champion Lou Elizondo, the hero of disclosure. What do you have to say now, UFO Jesus? He lied to everyone for years, and now we all know he never ran a government program. You dumbass who helped propped up a techno scam. People were scammed out of money. You had a part in that. But it gets better. Let's continue our journey here. Christopher Mellon, who was also part of the TTSA techno scam, was one of the speakers at this thing. He spoke at Soul Day 2, a few slots after Carl Neal. He began his discourse with a statement that his talk would focus on UAP disclosure from a national security perspective. Mellon's talk was replete with subtle pieces of info that will require, wow, this is long, that will require a lot of pondering in order to fully grasp. What if UAP disclosure changed the intentions of the phenomenon itself, since it no longer had an incentive to remain clandestine? I'm not reading this whole thing. Christopher Mellon basically stole those 3 videos, he admitted to it, out of the Pentagon. Well, he bent the rules, right? Those videos were never meant for public release. Then he goes and forms TTSA with the fake UFO program Pentagon director that never was a Pentagon UFO program director. And then TTSA runs a literal techno scam where they promise everybody UFO disclosure, that they're going to build a spaceship that with a revolutionary power source that will change the world. And then they all made money off those videos that were never intended for public release, that he bent the rules to get out of the Pentagon. And who declassified those videos? Lou Elizondo, the fake UFO program director, did. It's all a big club, and I ain't in it. So all these same people that were involved in the TTSA techno scam are speaking at this well, not all of them, but many of them, several of them, are speaking at this conference. By the way, Lou Elizondo was supposed to be there, and he no-showed. Well, I'm sure he had some explanation. He couldn't make it. He's still trying to figure out how he's going to get out of selling, how he's going to sell a book without lying about being a Pentagon program director, because he never was a Pentagon UFO program director. I guess he's busy trying to figure out how to salvage his book money deal, right? These are the people speaking at this conference. Does this appear to be a little shady now that all these people have been caught lying, selling fake stories, running UFO scams, lying to people that they're going to build goddamn spaceships and collecting millions of dollars and never building shit? These are the people at the Seoul conference. You disclosure boner dorks. Wake up. They ran this already. This is yet another organization propped up to take as much money out of the UFO community as they can possibly manage. And nothing changes. All right, 1 second. There's another important piece of this. Oh, and by the way, Christopher Mellon is the guy who stood up and told everybody that a balloon was a spaceship. Remember that? He told everybody a balloon was a Tic Tac. No, it wasn't. It was a balloon. These are your UFO experts that are going to bring you disclosures. Idiots that can't tell the difference between an alien spaceship and a goddamn balloon. These people are idiots. If disclosure is waiting for them to do it, you're never going to get it, because these people are dumber than rocks. Anybody who can't tell the difference between a balloon and an alien spaceship is dumb as rocks. That would include you, George Knapp, who also helped prop up the TTSA investment swindle, right? He was an early investor. He helped them get all kinds of publicity for their organization. Didn't disclose that he was an early investor in those reports. He's required to do so, I think, by SEC regulations. Did he do that? No. He just helped them find more victims of that techno swindle scam where they were promising people a spaceship. Then we've got Whitley Strieber there. RoboVision founder. Don't care about him. We're going to skip Carl Neal because I have a separate video that we're going to be doing on them. Yeah. This guy talked about controlled versus catastrophic UFO disclosure. Now, here's where it gets interesting. This is David Grush's lawyer, Charles McCullough. And what a lot of people don't know is that you people are so stupid. You disclosure people are so stupid because you think you're getting UFO disclosure from these people. You think you're going to get transparency from these people. Do you know? Do you even know this? This is Dave Grush's lawyer. Okay. Dave Grush's lawyer, Charles McCullough. Do you know that he's one of the architects of the Patriot Act? This is who's going to bring you transparency and disclosure? A man who was the architect of an act that took away the freedoms of every American, who invaded our privacy, who took away all of our privacy rights. This is the guy who's going to bring you UFO disclosure, right? Well, the lawyer of one of the guys, this is Grush's lawyer. He says there's a clear oversight issue element. That's why he took on Grush's case. Not everyone will like this statement. Being a whistleblower doesn't mean talking to the media. There is a clear issue with the U.S. government over classification of data. Okay. You can't have government and a country if everything becomes declassified. Some form of secrecy is needed. Yeah, like the Patriot Act, where they can just, listen in on your phone calls, monitor your internet, read your text messages, whatever they want to do, because, hey, there's terrorists out there. So we'll just take away the freedoms and privacy of every American. This is a transparency person. This is a disclosure advocate. You people are delusional if you believe that. But, hey, don't let things like facts and evidence and people's history, even if they have a history of being liars and scammers, get in the way of a good story you could sell, right? And now we're just going to get into the video. I'm hopeful that tonight's video will be a short one. I kind of have some things to do, so I didn't want to go too long tonight. But I thought the best way, perhaps, to cover this Seoul conference is to hear what the disclosure dorks and the UFO fake propaganda ministers like UFO Jesus. And by the way, it's post-disclosure. If I get a chance, I will add his video to the description of my video. But we're going to put my fair use banner up. After all, this is fair use. It's a transformative work. We're going to educate the public, and we're going to be critiquing the video we are sharing. But before I begin, I just want to take a moment to welcome all the live chat. And by the way, we also want to remind you, go and subscribe to Simon Fly. I believe it's at Simon Fly on YouTube. Music videos courtesy of him. I cut that one distribution point for him because he doesn't like one of our platforms, so we could play those this evening. I love his music videos. They make me laugh every time, and I miss them being in the show, so we'll have to see what we can do about that. So UFO Jesus, oh, you know what? Before we get to this video, I just want to display to you what a delusional fairy tale land UFO Jesus lives in. Because 7 years ago, he was saying that disclosure is just a few days away. And by the way, UFO Jesus, why did you delete a lot of your early videos? Could it be because you said we were in disclosure? Is it 7 or 8 years ago now? In your early videos, you said that disclosure, we were in the first day of disclosure. I specifically remember that video. Why did you delete that? Could it be because it makes you look like a raving lunatic and it shows everybody that you can't be trusted to provide any accurate information because you're wrong about everything? And, it's no surprise that a man named UFO Jesus would be wrong about everything. I've said this before. All he does is parrot the talking points of the scammers selling the fake stories and pushing fake narratives, right? And I think it's interesting that he had to delete a lot of early videos because in those early videos, he claimed disclosure had come. And that was the date of the launching of TTSA which we now know was a scam. By the way, UFO Jesus, have you ever apologized to your viewers for being wrong about the TTSA techno scam? Did you ever apologize for helping them, for helping people who swindled people out of millions of dollars, allegedly? Did you ever apologize for helping promote them while they were swindling people and lying to people and collecting investment money from people? I think you ought to apologize at least, right? No, he didn't apologize. He deleted the videos that were most damning to his situation, the proof that he helped promote what was literally an investment scam run by people who were lying about the work histories of people on their board, lying and saying they were going to build a spaceship. He just deleted those videos. Maybe he deleted those videos for legal reasons, right? Could be some responsibility there. I don't know. But this is interesting. So this is 5 years ago. And by the way, there was more videos 7 and 8 years ago that he has deleted, right? This video, disclosure is about to happen. That's clickbait garbage. Disclosure is about to happen. This video is 5 years ago. By the way, guess what he says in his latest video? You guessed it. Disclosure is about to happen. Again? Or still? What is it, UFO Jesus? You propaganda mouthpiece for scammers? What is it? What was disclosure about to happen 5 years ago and I missed it? Or is disclosure about to happen now? Because in both the videos that I'm going to show my audience, you say disclosure is about to happen. If you can't be right both times. No, UFO Jesus has been wrong about TTSA. He was wrong and helped prop up a fake story in the New York Times. He was wrong and helped prop up a fake UFO program UFO Pentagon program director. He helped promote TTSA, which we all are pretty clear now. They didn't do what they said they were going to do with the money that they were requesting from the public. He was wrong about that. He's been wrong about George Knapp, wrong about Corbell's videos, wrong about Bob Lazar. And he was wrong 5 years ago when he clickbaited his video. By the way, all of his videos are clickbait garbage. Disclosure is about to happen. 5 years ago, you said this. Which one is it, Jesus? Is disclosure about to happen 5 years ago? And why did you delete the old videos promoting TTSA so heavily? Could it be because you realized you might have some, I don't know, responsibility for what happened and all those unhappy investors that want their money back now? But let's get into this. Disclosure is about to happen.
Less than an hour ago, Tom DeLonge shared a post on his Facebook page conveying that he's going to be releasing formerly classified video footage of UFOs.
Wow. Well, maybe this is one of those later ones. This is one second. Let me change my change something here. Always forget to do that. I apologize. And by the way, let me know that you could hear him because we may still be experiencing those audio issues. So can you hear the video? Chris Johansson. You said it, not me, Chris Johansson. I don't want to repeat that. But by the way, before we begin on this, we want to take a moment to thank some kind and generous benefactors we have already tonight. UFO John Doe, the MVP of Super Chats here on our channel, with a kind and generous $19.99. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. So keep up the good work, Stephen. Appreciate all you bring to this topic. Happy Thanksgiving, brother. Happy Thanksgiving to you, UFO John Doe. Keep calling out the BS from these wackadoos. It's also stupid. Remember, disclosure is coming in 2030. Yeah, which one is it, UFO Jesus? You said 5 years ago disclosure was coming. Then you said disclosure is coming in your latest video, but the Soul Foundation is saying disclosure is coming in 2030. It really is a ridiculous. Spooky, stop sending money to me. You make me feel uncomfortable every time hit the like button. It's for disclosure. Kind and generous, £2. Thank you both for your kindness, generosity, and support. And if this clown can make, by the way, this clown makes 100 times more money than our income here on our show. Do you know why? Because he feeds people lies and fairy tales that make them that make them tune in. and he feeds people clickbait garbage. He is a garbage peddler and has been for 6 or 7 years now. And like I said, someday he's going to have to meet his maker. And what's he going to say? What did you do with the skills that I gave you? God's going to ask him. He's going to have to say, I helped UFO scammers scam people out of money with their fake nonsense by repeating and promoting them, right? This guy's lips, by the way, are probably still sore from kissing Lou Elizondo's ass so much, right? But now he's on to kissing Grush's ass. Whoever the top tier front man of the UFO celebrity circuit is, his lips are right on him. Lick it too, UFO Jesus. My goodness. All right. So we want to thank UFO John Doe. We want to thank Spooky. And we want to also, I thought I saw another one there. Did I? Oh, yeah. Steve Long for a kind and generous $9.99. Stephen has been on fire this week. Happy Thanksgiving, all you truth seekers. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support. Thank all three of you knuckleheads. By the way, that's a term of endearment. I call my two boys knuckleheads, and they laugh every time. They're always up to something, Steve Long. I hear them giggling and shit. And in the other room, I go in there, I go, what are you knuckleheads up to? And then they just laugh more. So I do mean it as a term of endearment to all of you fine supporters helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash.
So here is UFO. Thank you, all of you. I appreciate it immensely. Okay, wait, let me get the right one. Okay. So, by the way, this is UFO Jesus saying disclosure's coming any day now. Why? Because Christopher Mellon stole some crappy, grainy videos that were, all three of them, I think, are largely debunked now. There's still some holders on claiming that Tic Tac's not, I think. But for those unaware, Lou Elizondo used his Pentagon taxpayer-funded position as a real estate sort of person in the Pentagon to somehow declassify videos, and then Christopher Mellon stole them out of the Pentagon somehow. Well, he bent the rules. That's what he said. Not stole them. He bent the rules. Those videos were never intended for public release, but those videos would become the basis upon which Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, Tom DeLonge, and others at this organization, and Hal Puthoff and others at this TTSA organization would collect millions of dollars. And I want to know how a private organization can essentially steal videos never intended for public release from the military or the Pentagon or the government, and then profit from them to the tune of millions of dollars. Television shows were made based on those videos that were pilfered out of the Pentagon that were never intended for public release. TTSA as an organization collected several $1 million in investment money while promising people that they were going to build a spaceship. And it was all based on these three videos. And this is how wrong UFO Jesus is. This is him promoting those three videos as bringing us disclosure. No, UFO Jesus, you were wrong. You were completely and totally wrong. All these videos did is bring a bunch of UFO grifters a whole lot of money for nothing, because those videos weren't what they pretended they were. And let's be clear, they pretended those three videos all depicted some sort of alien spaceships. They did not.
I analyzed his post. I'm going to read it.
Oh, by the way, let me know that you can hear him speaking. We may still be having those audio issues. He's going to analyze Tom DeLonge's post. Disclosure is coming within days.
To you. As promised, the first ever declassified videos of UFOs are on their way. In a few days, these videos will be presented to the world, and along with them, we will launch an interim website that will grow into a robust partnership between global citizens and international governments. These videos will be viewable here shortly, along with their documentation and chain of custody from the Department of Defense. We will also have a description and information on what...
This is so funny. It's like memory lane. Oh, boy, I got to tell you, I remember this post, and boy, did the Disclosure Bros get their disclosure boners hard over this.
You are watching. Coinciding with these videos, our most important announcement to date will be launched. Tell your parents and neighbors you knew about this before they did, because they are about to hear about it soon. I will admit that there is a...
Yeah. So, Christopher Mellon takes these videos from the Pentagon. Lou Elizondo declassifies them. Somehow they get into the Pentagon parking lot. Christopher Mellon says they had to bend the rules to get those out. And then they're using the release of those videos, which, by the way, they're government-funded videos. They don't own those videos. They don't have a right to sell things related to those videos or ask people to invest in their company based on those videos. They didn't own those videos. Those were taxpayer-funded government videos. We all owned them. But here, they're talking about the release of these videos, and then they're saying, invest at To the Stars Academy. Give us millions of dollars to build a spaceship. And then what did they do with the money? According to a witness who talked to Lou Elizondo about it, Tom DeLonge was going to end up in jail over it because he mismanaged the money and used it for a stupid movie instead of doing anything that they were telling investors that they were going to do. Great.
About to hear about it soon. I will admit that there is a part of me that says this is too good to be true. This will not end up happening the way I'm hoping it will happen. But here's why I do not subscribe to that part of me, and it's because
you're a
when I first heard about,
because you're a delusional wackadoo who's lost all hope of getting back to reality. This is 5 years ago. Imagine how much further down the delusional rabbit hole this man is now. Oh, we're going to get it. We're going to show you how far down the delusional rabbit hole this wackadoo has gotten.
About Tom DeLonge, that he was meeting with these high-level government insiders, I did not really believe it. I was very skeptical. Then all of a sudden, WikiLeaks come out, and it was verified that he actually was meeting with top-level generals, like really the highest of the highest United States generals. So naturally, that got my interest. Then he has the To the Stars Academy press conference, and he has these extremely high-level guys. The most interesting one, and the most profound one, in my opinion, is Lou Elizondo, who worked with a aerial threat division within the Department of Defense.
No, he didn't. He didn't work within an aerial threat division within the Department of Defense, you dummy. You just repeated lies of UFO scammers who were running an investment scam, and you're helping them promote it with lies. He did not run. Ooh, let's back that up. This is how wrong UFO Jesus is.
The Department of Defense, whose objective is to monitor aerial technology, unidentified aerial technology coming into our atmosphere. He got behind the podium.
His objective and his assigned responsibilities had nothing to do with that, UFO Jesus. You were completely and totally wrong here. Completely and totally wrong. This is what happens when you repeat the lies of UFO scammers and grifters.
And he said, hey, y'all, yeah, the UFOs are real. And he retired less than 2 weeks prior to that press conference. I mean, I got to be honest, DeLonge is delivering. Now, if you think
DeLonge is delivering. So all you disclosure bros who are listening to this clown now, here's an education for you. He was wrong about everything 5 years ago. And you know what? I'm going to put this on the record. Do you know who got the Elizondo story right from the very start? Do you know who got the TTSA story right from the very start? I did. I accurately reported on all of that. I didn't repeat the talking points of UFO grifters. This is what happens when you just trust people that are only out for money. They don't care about disclosure. And this guy is just a useful pawn idiot to them to help amplify their message.
He's been fed some disinformation, fine. But don't conflate being fed disinformation with he's not going to bring to the table what he says he's going to bring.
He didn't bring anything to the table. He brought 3 easily debunked videos out to the public, and he made millions of dollars doing so. And those videos had no value whatsoever because they weren't what they pretended them to be. Even on the declassification form, it says that they are balloons, drones, etc. Not alien spaceships. Oh, that came out a little bit later. So you jumped the gun, getting your disclosure boner hard for this one, UFO Jesus.
Because I actually anticipate he's going to bring it to the table. He's going to bring these declassified videos of UFOs sanctioned by the Department of Defense, and it's
the Department of Defense never sanctioned their release. They were never intended for public release. He's wrong again. You see the theme that I'm getting at here? This man, UFO Jesus, has been wrong about everything because he just repeats what the grifters say. If they say it, it's truth to him. He does zero fact checking of anything. It's great.
It's interesting. Since it is the Department of Defense that is declassifying these classified files, obviously they're working in cahoots, right?
No, they weren't. Elizondo and Mellon did this on their own with perhaps the help of somebody to get them out to the parking lot.
To the Stars Academy team is not working by itself. They are cooperating and working with the government.
They are not cooperating and working with the government, but they were filled with CIA people. So there's that. Great job, CIA mouthpiece.
U.S. government. This is a very big deal. Before I go,
it wasn't a big deal. It was all a lie, and you fell for it. You fell for it because you're kind of dumb as rocks. But I'll forgive you. You know, some people just aren't very intellectually gifted. You know, it's a roll of the dice. You know.
Further, there are a lot of people who are like, you got it. It's a company to invest in. He's just trying to make money. It's like you're really paying attention to that.
It was just a scheme to make money. That is proven now. It's very clear it was just a scheme to make money, Mr. Jesus.
Who cares if he has shareholders? Who cares if he's selling stock into his company? Like, that is the most uninteresting aspect of this whole thing.
No, the interesting aspect is how they promised people a spaceship, collected millions of dollars, and didn't deliver anything to their investors. That's what the interesting part is. But you missed that because you were too busy with your tongue out and your lips parsed to Lou Elizondo's nether regions to actually, fact check any of this or urge caution before people spend their money on a scheme to defraud the UFO community out of money.
The fact is that disclosure is being rolled out by the U.S. government. And besides,
disclosure was not rolled out by the U.S. government. You see what I mean here? This is comical to watch him this many years ago. And by the way, the shtick hasn't changed. It's just the talking points of the UFO celebrities has changed. But he's still doing the same thing. Whatever the UFO celebrities say, he just repeats it as truth and fact. And we want to thank Zizix, longtime show supporter, for two things: being a member and a kind and generous $2 super chat. Disclosure in 2033, 100-year probation ended. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Well, thank you for your kindness, generosity, and support, and helping us to praise the cash, bitches!
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash!
I wonder how much money Ryan has made lying to people over the past 7 or 8 years. I think that's his name, Ryan. His name's not Jesus, in case you were wondering. So we're just going to do a little bit more of this, and then we'll move on to the latest video.
DeLong has said, if I'm not mistaken, in an interview, that one of the reasons he's having shareholders is it protects their interests. So that
Tom DeLong's protecting the shareholders' interests. What interest did he protect except for his own? Do you know that Tom DeLong paid his sister $100,000 a year while they were collecting that TTSA money? And you know what her job was? Public relations. I still have the emails. I sent a whole bunch of emails with questions. She didn't even reply. So what was she getting $100,000 for, UFO Jesus? Why was she paid $100,000 when she's supposed to be doing public relations? She can't answer her emails? And I'm not the only one she didn't answer emails to the best of my knowledge and recollection. This is some time ago. Great.
That when they start developing the technologies that are based on the observation of UFO technology.
Oh, when they start developing the spaceship. They never developed a spaceship, Jesus. You were wrong again.
And aerospace companies start knocking on their door and like, you can't do this. They'll have some sort of justification. They'll be like, look, we got millions and millions of dollars invested in this from the populace. You can't just shut us down. We'll work something out. So there is this.
They did get millions and millions of dollars invested. And they basically did shut the whole thing down except for the entertainment division, where they'll make crappy books and really terrible movies. And Tom DeLong's movie, I think it's called Hollywood Monsters, complete and total financial failure.
strategic purpose behind having shareholders. And then the other argument that I hear all the time is, well, they're not going to be able to afford it. It costs billions. DeLong has said in many of his Facebook posts and Twitter posts over and over again, they're going to be hooking up with aerospace companies that are obviously the aerospace companies are going to put some of their own money into it. They'll have
the aerospace companies never put any money into it, and they never developed anything. Again, I'm just playing this to show you how wrong this man is and how easily he lies and repeats the talking points of people who are essentially scamming people for UFO dollars. This is this man's history. This is your legacy, Jesus. Congratulations. Your parents should be real proud of you. When do they ask you, your mom and dad, like, what do you do on YouTube? Do you tell them the truth? I help people scam people out of money with fake information, lies, and videos that aren't what they pretend to be, right? And I help people that stand on a stage and say a balloon is an alien spaceship or could be an alien spaceship. Do you tell your friends and family that you help people to defraud the public with fake information, false information, disinformation, misinformation, and lying about their backgrounds? How many videos did he make pumping Lou Elizondo's bullshit? Why are people still tuning into this clown? It's a mystery. It's a mystery to me. He picks up trash for Stavati Aerospace, says, oh, school's cop side. Yes. Yes. All right. We'll just do a little bit longer.
Plenty of money. They're probably getting grants from the U.S. government.
They never got grants from the U.S. government. You're wrong about that, too. How many times has it been wrong now? We should have had a ticker counter going.
It's not just going to be from the shareholders. In fact, the very tiniest portion of their funding, a minuscule amount of their funding is going to come from the shareholders.
All the money came from the shareholders. He's wrong again. Ooh, we really should have had a ticker. A minuscule amount of their funding is going to come from the shareholders. No, Ryan, 100% of their funding came from shareholders. What did they do with that money? Can you go find me a happy investor that made money on their investment? Oh, that's right, you can't, because that whole thing tanked.
The most of it's going to come from aerospace and come from government grants and things of that nature.
They did not get any money from aerospace companies. He's wrong again. They did not get any government grants. Wrong again, Jesus.
Now, in his Facebook post, he said that this website is going to encompass a partnership of governments, not just the United States governments, but other governments as well.
They did not have any partnership with the United States government, and they did not have any partnership with foreign governments. Wrong again. This is what happens, Jesus, when you just keep repeating the talking points of somebody that's out to scam the public and lying. You got to fact check things, especially when you're dealing with the UFO Grift Squad.
It's as clear as day that the truth embargo or the UFO cover-up, whatever terminology you want to use, is unraveling right before our very eyes. It's often been said that the U.S., the United States of America, are the ones that are the head honchos of the...
Disclosure within days. The UFO cover-up is unraveling right before our eyes. Did I miss disclosure 5 years ago or something? I must have missed it.
Allies, Europeans and the Australians, and, barring China and Russia, all the U.S. allies have been compelled, many believe, I subscribe to this, they've been compelled to keep their mouths shut.
No proof or evidence of that. Again, repeating UFO mythology.
About the fact that their UFOs exist. So now that the United States is like giving the go-ahead, and so other governments, European governments, Australia, etc., are going to become involved. This is a...
They did not become involved. Wrong again, Jesus. God damn, how many times can this man be wrong? We're only 5 minutes in. He was wrong like 20 times so far.
This is a multinational effort.
It wasn't a multinational effort. There was no multinational effort. Wrong again.
Disclosure rollout is happening before our very eyes.
Disclosure rollout is happening. Disclosure within days. The cover-up is unraveling. Disclosure rollout is happening right before our eyes. Really? Jesus Christ, how can one man be so wrong?
And it's so obvious to anyone who just would be a little open-minded about it.
It's obvious. Disclosure is being rolled out.
These videos will include documentation and chain of custody stemming from the Department of Defense. These are legitimate. These are utterly legitimate. No one's going to be able to argue against them. These are literally files, videos that has never been shown before and has been
wrong again. One of the videos was shown, was uploaded to YouTube years and years and years before these guys got him. Wrong again, Jesus.
Classified up until this point. So no one has seen it except the government inside.
A lot of people saw them. One of them was on YouTube before they got their hands on them. Years before, I believe.
This is some serious stuff right here. And videos, in my estimation, are better than photos. Way better. This is huge.
This is huge. No, it wasn't. Wrong again. It wasn't huge. Nothing happened except a bunch of UFO promoters filled their pockets with millions of dollars of UFO money, and nobody knows where that money went to this day, really.
Documentation needed to verify that these are government-issued, just declassified videos of UFOs is going to be provided. Now, I'm about to play my Egyptian flute.
All right, we're going to kill it there. That's enough. Yeah, he plays the flute. Yeah, well, good for him. I encourage people. Music therapy is important. If you're going to lie to people all day, you got to have some form of therapy. You really do have. And Chris Damaris, we want to thank you for a kind and generous 1999. Happy Thanksgiving, Steve. I'm thankful for you, Chris Damaris. And thank you for appreciating us. We appreciate you. Steve Long. I know when I listened to this earlier, Steve Long, I said, I got to play this for my audience. This is a comedy. This is like a bad comedy show. Like, how wrong can one man be? And this is what fascinates me. And by the way, something did trigger tonight, Steve Long. And I hate that I'm this petty, but somebody on Twitter sent me a nasty message saying UFO Jesus said the Soul Conference is earth-changing revelations or something like that. Like earth-changing revelations were made at the Soul Conference. And you don't know what you're talking about, Stephen. And so I'm like, all right, let's see what he said about it then. But let's show people how wrong he's been about everything else in the past. It's absolutely ridiculous. What a wackadoodle this guy is. All right, we're still citing fair use. I have another video to share with you. This one's a little longer. And I've retitled his video. I've retitled it, UFO Jesus Lies to Everyone. Oh, I screwed that up. Let me fix that. Lies to Everyone About the Soul Conference. And by the way, a lie by omission is still a lie. If you're gonna cover the Soul Conference and pretend that many of the people involved haven't been caught selling completely and totally fake stories, then you're not being honest with anybody making a video like that. You're a propaganda. He is not a reporter. He is a propagandist for the UFO Grift Squad. That's his function. He's there to help the UFO Grift Squad sell their lies. Interesting that he's still going. I think he's going to, remember I said he deleted some early videos. I think he's going to be deleting some more after tonight's broadcast. Okay. So I've retitled this video of his, UFO Jesus Lies to Everyone About the Soul Conference and its speakers. A lie by omission is still a lie, of course. And by the way, he titled this latest video we're going to play for you. In the thumbnail, it says disclosure is coming, right? So isn't it interesting that in the video we just shared, it's disclosure within days. 5 years ago, he put on a video thumbnail, he clickbaited disclosure within days. Now on this video I'm going to share with you, he clickbaited that thumbnail to say disclosure is coming. And he titled it Soul Conference 2023, Grush and Neal's Momentous UFO Insights. But I did change the title in full disclosure, pardon the pun. I changed the title to UFO Jesus Lies to Everyone About the Soul Conference and its speakers. So We're going to go through this, friends.
In today's video, we'll dive into some insights and statements shared by David Grush, a seasoned expert from the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and National Reconnaissance Office, alongside revelations from former Army Colonel Carl Nell. We're focusing
I thought it was Neil. It's Neil, or maybe I'm wrong.
On some key highlights from the Soul Foundation's inaugural UAP Symposium, which unfolded over the 17th and 18th of November. Join us as we explore these significant discussions and their implication.
There was no significant discussions. It was UFO grifters, high-fiving each other and planning for disclosure to come. Just like you were planning, UFO Jesus, that disclosure was coming within days, and you made that video 5 years ago.
But
does anybody know where he lives? I want to send him a pair of clown shoes and a clown nose. I really am going to do it.
Before we dive into the celestial disclosure pool, I want to read the Soul Foundation's website description of what this inaugural symposium comprised of.
By the way, was there any mention of all the people that were involved in the TTSA techno scam speaking at this conference so far? Maybe I missed when he told everybody the history of Hal Puthoff and how he's in the Encyclopedia of American Loons and how he was fooled by magic tricks and how he was part of the TTSA techno scam. I must have missed him mentioning that.
And I quote, after decades of undeserved marginality, unidentified aerial phenomena, UAP, are enjoying unprecedented levels of public interest and newfound legitimacy in academia, government, media, and even venture capital.
Where in academia are people studying UAP? I must have missed that too.
Yet this sudden turnaround is deepening rather than lessening the enigma of the phenomenon, revealing not only all the questions about them that have gone unanswered, but the many more that must now be asked.
And talk about repeating the talk. Remember I said that all this guy does is repeat the talking points of the UFO celebrities. He doesn't actually fact check anything, or like he's literally right here just reading off their website, their propaganda for them. Great job. Great job.
Are some of these unidentified aerospace and undersea objects technological and non-anthropogenic? Non-anthropogenic means not originating from humans or human activity.
All right.
Into these
we're going to skip most of this because this is just propaganda from the Soul Foundation's website. And you can't trust propaganda from a website. Remember, who is running that organization? Who's a part of it? Gary Nolan, who's been involved in completely and totally fake UFO and alien stories multiple times. So we can't trust him. Dave Grush, who's been calling himself a whistleblower for 170 days now, but has yet to provide any evidence whatsoever of his claims. He's a part of it, right? And who's speaking at it? People who have been caught lying and selling fake UFO stories. People who have been caught lying and collecting UFO dollars for things like building spaceships that they never built. You can't trust the propaganda from these people, but this UFO Jesus, like I said, not much in the gray matter department. Poor guy. You just have to roll the dice, I
par
guess.
excellence.
All right, we'll go to the next part here.
Former Army Colonel. I don't know if it has been explicitly conveyed.
All right, he's going to talk about Carl Neal here, and I'm going to have a separate video for him. I'm leaving him out of tonight, so if you're curious why I won't speak about that individual, I'm going to have a whole video dedicated to him.
How he garnered his understanding about the UFO cover-up. But based on some citations that I'm going to share with you, I think there's a very good shot that he worked in a legacy UFO program. And
he's just making stuff up here. Did the man say he worked in a legacy UFO program publicly? Not to my knowledge, but UFO Jesus is telling everybody that, UFO Jesus's job is to get everybody's disclosure boners rock hard. So he's going to tell them that Carl Neal, an Army colonel who claims to co-sign Dave Grush's alien and UFO claims was in a legacy UFO program. There's no evidence of that. Zero evidence of that whatsoever. Did he preface his remarks by saying this is speculation? No. I didn't hear that. He's just telling everybody that this man is part of a legacy UFO program somehow. So not only is he repeating the lies of the Griff Squad, he's adding his own layer of lies. This is what I talked about when I said that the UFO scam works because these people employ layers upon layers of deception. The first layer of deception is the information coming from the Griff Squad running the conference, who don't tell everybody that many of the speakers at their conference have been caught selling completely and totally fake UFO stories or been involved in questionable and shady financial dealings around UFOs before. Now we've got this guy, Jesus, comes along and adds another layer of deception, claiming that somebody that that never said that was a member of the UFO legacy program.
Or he has actually seen the craft, non-human craft, up firsthand and personal, touching the hardware.
He never said he touched the hardware. More lies.
Before I show you the citations that make a case for that, I just want to quote from the original article that broke this whole David Grush story from
garbage peddler Leslie Keene, who put lie upon lie upon lie in her New York Times article, who purposefully left information out about dino beavers and werewolves and ghost hunters that program was really involved with. A small portion of the program that got the money dealt with UFOs. The rest dealt with werewolves, poltergeists, dino beavers, smoking dogs, you know.
June 5th from the debrief, and I quote, his assertion, and this is from Carl Nell, his assertion concerning the existence of a terrestrial arms race occurring sub rosa over the past 80 years, focused on reverse engineering technologies of unknown origin, is fundamentally correct, as is the indisputable realization that at least some of these technologies of unknown origin derive from non-human intelligence.
Oh, it is Carl Nell. I'm sorry.
Said Carl Nell, the retired Army colonel who worked with Grush on the UAP task force. So
yeah, and he may have been the person that was fired. Remember, Dave Grush mentioned that his boss got fired, and he claims that was in retaliation. There could only be a few people that was. Was it Stratton that was fired, or was it Nell that was fired? And isn't it interesting? We get the wackadoo prover maneuver. Again, that's when you have one wackadoo making out of this world claims about aliens and UFOs, and then you get that has no evidence or no proof to support their claims, and then you just get another wackadoo to back him up that has equally no evidence of his claims. This doesn't look good. If you have evidence of claims, you show it. Neither of these individuals showed evidence of their claims. These are just people telling stories, essentially.
The retired Army colonel who worked with Grush on the UAP task force. So the following clip is from the July 26th.
Who may have been fired from the task force. And by the way, I'm trying to follow up with government sources to verify which person was it that Grush is talking about on the JRE podcast being fired. His boss got fired, he said.
UFO hearing, which was under oath. Pay very close attention to what David Grush states regarding the 40 witnesses he spoke to, because as we continue with this.
Yeah, 40 witnesses that Grush spoke to that nobody's allowed to know the names of, nobody else is allowed to speak to, including Arrow and Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick up until recently, whose responsibility it was to deal with those people. He asked for Dave Grush to come in, and Dave Grush refused multiple times, according to Kirkpatrick of the government's Arrow UFO program. So what is Grush hiding?
It will be.
But hey, the disclosure bros love talking about his 40 witnesses that nobody's heard from, nobody's gotten the names of, nobody's allowed to, interview or check if he actually has 40 witnesses.
Become clear that it appears that former Colonel Carl Nell is amongst those 40 witnesses that David Grush is citing in the following clip.
Mr. Grush, finally, do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General.
Yeah, I know exactly where those spaceships are, but I can't tell you. And, you know, I try not to be too hard on this guy who spent some time in a mental institution, but just think about the number of times that this man has claimed that he had all kinds of information, but then said, I can't tell you, right? He's got all this information, but he can't tell us.
And some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
So a big takeaway from that clip is that David Grush said, I had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Yes, but he didn't name any of them. And now UFO Jesus here is just going to, I guess, speculate or connect the dots and say that that Nell person is one of those firsthand witnesses. We don't know that. There's no information to indicate that. Even Nell isn't claiming that, to my knowledge.
Now, technically, he said over 40 witnesses, but I still believe amongst those, one of those people is former Army Colonel Carl Nell.
Well, did you reach out to Grush and ask? Did you reach out to Nell and ask? No, he's just going to say it, right? Because in his delusional fantasy disclosure bro world, this makes sense. So,
and not only that, I'm very confident that Carl Nell was part of a legacy UFO program.
He has no evidence for this whatsoever. And remember the other video, how many times he was wrong? Look at this man's track record of being wrong about everything. Now he's going to, you know, come to this leap somehow.
And you'll see why I perceive that as we continue building this case. But in the following clip, Elizabeth Vargas interviews Leslie Kean. Leslie Kean was one of the authors of that June 5th debrief article that broke the David Grush story.
Yes, and you're leaving out that she's the one that lied in the New York Times or didn't fact check Lou Elizondo's claims. She brought this all the New York Times article did. It set off a firestorm of interest in UFOs. I'll give you that, but it was all based on lies. If you're reporting and you're going to talk about Leslie Kean, why would you not mention that her New York Times article was completely and totally wrong? Is it because you got behind that New York Times article that was faulty, that was fake? Imagine that, a fake Jesus getting behind a fake article which pumps up a fake UFO program director. Fake, fake, fake. That's what you get with the Griff Squad.
Leslie Kean literally cites Carl Nell as being amongst the 40 people that David Grush spoke to.
David Grush said in his testimony that he talked to 40 people over 4 years, all of whom had information on a secret military program that has non-human craft and remains. Is it surprising to you that none of those 40 people has spoken out?
It is surprising. It actually is, Elizabeth. I mean, some of them have. One of them actually was in our article in the debrief. I mean, a former
Okay, so he might have some basis to think.
Army colonel named Carl Nell. I think.
But if you're going to make that statement, you contact the person and ask them. You don't just report that. But hey, don't let things like journalistic ethics get in the way of a UFO Jesus scheme, right? To propagate UFO fake information.
Maybe some of them have spoken out a little bit, and we just don't maybe put it all together. But
some of them have spoken out a little bit. Do you know what that means? It's probably people like Eric Davis and Hal Puthoff on that list.
Really isn't surprising because of the repercussions that people face. And Dave Grush is an example of that. He talked a little bit in the hearing yesterday about the repercussions that he's faced, which are very harmful to him, both personally and professional.
So right from Leslie Kean's mouth,
those repercussions may have been just him getting investigated for mishandling classified information. If you mishandle classified information, you're going to have some trouble. That doesn't mean that was retaliation for looking into the UFO topic.
Carl Nell was one of the people he spoke to. And therefore...
No, she said a person in the article. She did not name him. Again, he's making leaps.
Because of the other stuff that David Grush stated, he testified under oath to the Inspector General. So Carl Nell is not just a high-level ex-government official that was quoted for the debrief article where he said that much of what Grush is saying is true and that he vouches for Grush's credibility,
Yeah, the
but it
wackadoo
extends
prover
far
maneuver.
beyond that. Carl Nell is also a whistleblower that testified to the Inspector General. Now, in the following clip is from an interview that took place on August 3rd for the BBC 4. And in this clip, very interestingly, Grush says something that makes it clear to me, or likely to me,
Again,
that these 40
speculation.
people were all part of a legacy UFO program. Therefore, Carl Nell, assuming that he is part of this 40 people, and it does appear that way, he was part of a legacy UFO program. Now, I want to set you up for this clip a little bit. The host is going to say, how do you know they have these items? The host is referencing intact and partially intact alien vehicles in its possession. I don't want to play too much of it, but that's what he's referencing based upon the context.
But how do you know they have these items? Because you've not seen them yourself, have you?
There's certain things that I have firsthand access to that I can't publicly discuss at this time. However,
notice that's a problem for Grush. He said he had no firsthand knowledge. Now he says there are things I have firsthand knowledge of. So we're getting an evolving narrative depending on who's interviewing him. He can't keep his story straight. Not looking good for 170 days with no evidence, Mr. Grush. Boy, if this is all one big bluff, it's the greatest bluff in UFO history.
myself and other colleagues interviewed, 40 individuals, both our current and former highly distinguished intelligence and military personnel that were specifically on these programs. And those.
Yeah, so basically, Dave Grush is claiming that he has 40 anonymous sources. How many anonymous sources do you need to sell a grift? Apparently, you need 40 of them.
Those that were willing, I directed to the Intelligence Community Inspector General. So the Inspector General was able to interview these people that do have direct firsthand information.
So I'm going to reiterate part of what Grush stated, because I really want to drive home that if it's accurate,
we just heard Grush say it. Now he's going to repeat it again. That's a propaganda tactic, repetition.
Leslie Keene said that he is one of the 40 people that Grush spoke to, then it's clear that Carl Nell was part of a legacy UFO program. And I will admit that Leslie Keene might be mistaken here. And in this hint,
you'll admit she might be mistaken. She wrote an entire New York Times article full of lies about Lou Elizondo and helped Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon, and everybody else form TTSA, right? Or at least she helped them promote TTSA and get millions of dollars of UFO money that was apparently not used for UFOs, but used to make a stupid movie by Tom DeLonge. She might be wrong. The woman believes in spirit mediums. The woman believes in rapping. Do you know what that is? That's when you contact ghosts and they knock on a table. The woman believes in ectoplasm from the spirit medium world. She believes that's a real thing. She claimed a ghost hand of ectoplasm grabbed her once or something like that. She's a complete and total wackadoo. She might be wrong. Yeah, she might.
Hinges on her being correct. However, she did author the article that broke the story along with Ralph Blumenthal in the debrief. So
yes, and she has a history of publishing articles full of lies. So shouldn't you report that to your audience, that we have to be cautious about her claims about Grush, since she was completely and totally wrong? And she did not do her due diligence vetting the claims of one Lou Elizondo. Shouldn't you mention that she has a history of writing completely and totally factually inaccurate articles?
I'm not sure why she would be mistaken. I'm not saying it's even near impossible. I'm just saying that it's likely that she probably understands this part of the equation, if you will. So in that interview, the host says, how do you know they have these items? The host is referencing intact and partially intact alien vehicles. Grush goes on to say, myself and other colleagues interviewed 40 individuals
that no one else is allowed to speak to, talk to, or know the names of. 40 anonymous sources. Trust me, bro. The aliens are real. We got the spaceships, and I got 40 anonymous sources backing me up.
Both are current and former highly distinguished intelligence and military personnel.
Whose name we can't tell you. We can't tell you one name off that 40-person list. But he's already referencing people like Hal Puthoff in his interviews. He's referencing people like, oh, I don't know. I think he mentioned Davis, or Davis mentioned him. He works for Gary Nolan, who's been caught selling fake alien and UFO stories, or been involved in completely and totally fake alien and UFO stories before. These things are important, and they should be at least acknowledged. You know, you want to go true blue believer, that's fine, but you got to at least show the other side of the coin.
Now, Carl Nell is definitely a highly distinguished military personnel. He was a colonel in the Army.
That doesn't mean he was a highly distinguished. He could have been. He could have been pushed up the line. He could have had a daddy that was a general. You don't know anything about the man's military career. But hey, don't let things like facts and evidence get in the way of a good UFO bullshit story you could sell.
Grush goes on to say, these highly distinguished intelligence and military personnel that were specifically on these programs, and those that were willing.
Great. Can we have the names of the programs so we can check into them or FOIA request them? Or no, I can't tell you the names of the programs. Great. Can we have the names of the 40 witnesses? No, can't tell you the name of the 40 witnesses. It's all classified. But according to Dopser and the Pentagon, nothing, alien bodies, alien spaceships, alien crash retrievals, that's not classified.
I directed to the intelligence community inspector general, so the inspector general was able to interview these people that do have direct firsthand information. Direct firsthand information.
You know who claimed to have direct firsthand information? Eric Davis, who claimed in a New York Times article several years ago, I think it was 3 years ago now, they put it right at the end of the article, that the government, that he's briefing senators or somebody or congressmen, government officials he's briefing about non-human craft in the possession of the United States government. He claimed that, Eric Davis. Eric Davis has also been, his research has been called crackpot science by the United States Air Force. But hey, don't bother reporting facts to your audience about who these so-called firsthand witnesses may actually be, right?
If Carl Nell is amongst those 40 people, then I would surmise is a whistleblower that has more intimate interaction with the cover-up.
And by the way, that might be right. You know, I have thought this several times. They may be saying, we've got 40 other, witnesses, firsthand witnesses. So what we may be seeing here is a rollout of a long grift. And in that scenario, you roll out Grush first to say all this stuff, and then you start rolling out other people. And I predict if they start rolling out people, they're going to claim that they touched the craft, or they were inside it, or they worked on it, and they're not going to provide any evidence. So that's the wackadoo prover maneuver. When you have one wackadoo claiming things about UFOs and aliens with no evidence, you get more wackadoos to come in and back up the other wackadoos. This may be the greatest wackadoo prover maneuver I've ever seen, where we get 40 people coming forward saying, I worked on the aliens. You got any evidence? No. Next. I worked on the alien spacecraft. You got any evidence of that? No. Next. That's what we may be witnessing soon.
Than even David Grush does, because he was part of a legacy UFO program, presumably hidden from Congress.
He never said he was part of a legacy UFO program, Carl Nell. You're just making things up here. He never said he was part of a legacy UFO program, let alone a legacy UFO program that was hidden from Congress. Where is he getting this information? Oh, I know where he's getting. I finally, I forget sometimes where people get their information, but then it becomes clear. He's getting his information from the land of make-believe, apparently. That's where he's getting he's just making stuff up. Carl Nell hasn't said I was part of a legacy UFO program that was hidden from Congress. Show me a quote from him saying that. He can't and he won't because he's just making shit up, apparently. This is how the grift works.
There's a rumor circulating.
Layers of deception. This is another layer of deception added on the previous layer of deception by the original deceivers. Then you get satellite deceivers and UFO propaganda mouthpieces like this clown come in and add more layers of deception. I think this is intentional to make it harder and harder for people to actually discern the truth. These layers of deception become obstacles to the truth. All you're doing is muddying the waters with disinformation. Jesus.
Speculating that Carl Nell is actually going to become the head of Arrow. We already know for a fact.
And by the way, Carl Nell said, somebody asked him at the conference, shook his hand and said, oh, I might have just shaken the hand of the new head of Arrow. And he said, don't believe all the news you hear. Did you know that, Jesus? So he's basically saying that's not true. But you're reporting that he's going to be the new head of Arrow. You know why? Because they desperately want a UFO wackadoo that's going to believe everything to be the new head of Arrow.
That Sean Kirkpatrick's on his way out. I believe it's December that he's going to leave and someone's going to replace him. Well, there's a rumor that it's going to be Carl Nell. Now, wouldn't that be amazing? Because apparently Carl Nell is a first-hand witness, worked in a legacy UFO.
Apparently, where did you get this information that he worked as a first-hand witness, that he's a first-hand witness or worked in a legacy UFO program? Where did you get that information? You're reporting this as factual, as real.
UFO program may have even gotten up close and personal to alien craft, right?
Oh, he may have gotten close to alien craft. Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of his asshole too. Like a lot of things may happen, Jesus.
So imagine someone who worked for a UFO legacy program, seen the craft up close and personal, knows how real this is, cannot deny it, promotes UFO transparency, promotes UFO disclosure, wants the American people to be told the truth about this enigma, and he becomes the head of the Pentagon's UFO program, Arrow. That would be astounding, you know.
That would be astounding. The government would never let that happen if these people are correct about a government cover-up. Why would they put a guy that knows where literally knows where all the bodies are in charge of a UFO program that's supposed to be transparent? They wouldn't do that, Jesus. But don't let things like logic get in the way of your delusions and your fairy tale existence where disclosures come in any day now, right?
You know what I'm saying? No doubt about it. But then again, it's only a rumor. However, the one.
Remember, 5 years ago, disclosure within days, he put on his thumbnail. This thumbnail says disclosure is coming. Great. You just, I guess you just were wrong for the past 5 years about when disclosure is coming, Jesus.
Twitter actually attended the Seoul symposium. And he wrote, because it wrapped up today, and he wrote, and I quote, one more tidbit before I head to the airport.
Oh, he is
I
going to say
spoke to
that.
Carl Nell briefly at the conclusion of today's Seoul conference.
Yeah, don't believe all the news that's out there. So why are you reporting that he is going to be the head? He's kind of dousing that belief. But hey, again, don't let things like facts and evidence get in the way of a story you can make money from.
Because I just, want to make sure where he's coming from. I say to the one, so your read is that Carl Nell will become the head of Arrow. And the one responds, yeah, I think so. Here's some.
Only in the world of UFOs can you shake somebody's hand and say, you might be the new head of Arrow. And he says, don't believe all the news you hear. And then they go, that means he's definitely going to be the head of Arrow. Come on.
Notes that the one.
By the way, why would they give him a job? If he was the guy that Grush is talking about that was fired, why would they give him the job being the head of a UFO organization if indeed Nell is the one who was fired that Grush is referencing?
Took during Carl Nell's presentation, and I quote, some very interesting statements, phrases strewn throughout Carl Nell's.
Yeah, listen to this wackadoo. He's given a hierarchy of the beings. He's talking about the Prime Directive. That's Star Trek. That's not real, wackadoos. The Prime Directive, that's from Star Trek.
Slides presented today at Seoul. Hierarchy of beings, Prime Directive, Schumer UAP legislation is an example of Pasulka's emergent phenomenon. We want to be engineering isotopes instead of raw materials. Disclosure is a process, not an event. Disclosure is a government-first problem. I will not comment on Arrow or on Kirkpatrick. Controlled disclosure in order to prevent catastrophic disclosure.
Yeah, so there's this whole idea that they have to do disclosure the right way, because if you do it the wrong way, it would be catastrophic. Okay.
TUO equals technology of unknown origin. TNO equals temporary non-attributed object. Use the Kelvin UFO photo in a slide when discussing UAPs.
Great. So he used a highly contested photo that may be an island off in the distance as he's making a presentation on UFOs. Great job. And a lot of people think that the Calvin UFO photo has been completely debunked, but of course, true believers will still argue with you.
The Chinese spy balloon photo when discussing TNOs. More notes from the Yuan regarding Carl Nell's presentation, and I quote, later on, I'll post some notes on the Carl Nell extremely detailed discussion on the origins of the Schumer UAP legislation and what comes next. However, one of the highlights from it was Jacques Vallée acting like an audience member and asking Nell some questions after Nell's talk.
This is such a group of wackadoos. So Jacques Vallée, who just got caught selling a book about a completely and totally fake UFO crash case, the Trinity UFO case, was there to help sell the event, I guess. I don't know. And Jacques Vallée, he's a true believing wackadoo who listened to a known UFO hoax promoter and wrote a whole book on it. And it turns out that that case has been completely and totally debunked as completely and totally fake. There were some metals involved with that. Turned out to be a piece of a windmill, not a piece of an alien spaceship. So there's Vallée, who was fooled into thinking somebody had a piece of an alien spaceship by a piece of a metal piece from a windmill, right? That's who's asking the question, the guy who just got caught selling a book full of lies to Nell.
And Vallée spoke out with visible emotion. Vallée, paraphrasing. Superficially, there is nothing better for disclosure than the proposed Schumer UAP legislation. However, scientists and researchers of the phenomenon, like everyone in the room is, will reject it as an inappropriate definition of the phenomenon itself. You don't want to lock yourself into the definitions that it stipulates. Vallée then said that he had special concerns with the following: confiscation and the notion of eminent domain, i.e. the government taking possession.
I think it's great that so many people take Jacques Vallée so seriously. Like literally, he's just got caught selling a book, which by the way, he sold a lot of copies of, that's about a completely and totally fake UFO crash. Why are we even listening to this person, Vallée? He sells books full of lies.
Of alleged metamaterials not already in the hands of the U.S. government. Religious artifacts not addressed in Schumer legislation. Abductions not addressed in Schumer legislation. Referenced Whitley Strieber, who was sitting nearby. Nell's response to Vallée. Definitions are evolving with time and with a specific purpose.
So you got one wackadoo in the form of Jacques Vallée, who just got caught selling a book full of about a completely and totally fake UFO crash case, is asking questions to this Nell person, who's helping Dave Grush sell his story by co-signing his claims without evidence. And how does he help Dave Grush bolster his story? By claiming Dave Grush is telling the truth, even though Dave Grush doesn't have any evidence, and Carl Nell has no evidence to prove that Dave Grush is telling the truth. But trust me, bro, this is trust me, bro territory.
We are zeroing in on a singular aspect of the phenomenon for now so that the U.S. government can get a handle on it. Eminent domain is too complex, but we can talk offline. So that was actually really interesting. Vallée is concerned about eminent domain, the government taking materials, crash retrieval materials, even religious artifacts that may have ultimately originated from non-human intelligence.
Yeah, I'd like to see them try to confiscate things from the Vatican. That would be fun. Like, hey, give us those relics. Like, no.
from citizens.
stupid.
Because in the Schumer administration, I think it talks about eminent domain, where it's been proposed that they want to take back any craft that have been recovered and are now in the hands of aerospace corporations. And he doesn't want that to filter into, or he doesn't want that to expand to private citizens. I think that's what he was getting at.
Yeah, and the Schumer Amendment is interesting because it basically gives the government the right to walk into any private company and say, that's alien technology and we're taking it. And how do you determine if it's really alien technology and they have the right to take it? This Schumer Amendment is a shit show. It's going to be very problematic from a legal perspective.
And then I'm not going to go into any more of it. You can go back and examine it yourself if you want, but that was very interesting nevertheless. So there's a post that dropped on Reddit made by James J. And
nothing says credibility like, citing anonymous Reddit posters for information. Yeah.
I'm going to read a little bit of what he posted. He obviously attended the Seoul Symposium, and his post provides further.
How do you know he attended this symposium? You don't. It's an anonymous Reddit post.
Clarity on what went down. And I quote, Carl Nell presented a dense DoD-style set of slides explaining the thought process behind
including a highly contested, possibly hoax photo of a UFO. That was in his slides. Yeah, you should have included that. Jesus. This is what I'm talking about. These people use layers upon layers of deception, and they use the lie by omission. Like, yeah, he used some great slides, including what may be a completely, totally fake UFO photo.
The design of the Schumer Amendment, including the political reality and purpose of the legislation and the definitions and use of the terms NHI, etc. in the bill. He said that the supporters of the legislation include people from both parties from the Gang of Eight, and to pay attention to the fact that they are read into everything and still supporting the legislation.
Well, that's interesting. So multiple members of the Gang of Eight support the legislation. That could be fact-checked. Did you fact-check that, UFO Jesus? No, you're just reporting it as fact. Because why bother taking the time to actually fact-check anything a UFO person says, right? Because UFO people always tell the truth. There's no history whatsoever of a UFO person lying about something to sell a story or lying about something to bolster a story, right? Absolutely no history of any UFO person ever lying before. So why bother to fact check, right, Jesus? Why bother?
Outlined several key differences in the legislation versus the JFK legislation it is modeled after. They learned some things, and there are differences.
Yeah, by the way, this legislation is meaningless because they passed similar legislation that was supposed to mean that by law, they had to release all of the JFK files. And you know what happened when that time limit came up? President Trump punted it and said, no, we'll push it back a bunch of years. And then Biden basically said, we're never going to release those. We don't care about that law. So the government's going to do what it wants. You can pass all the amendments you want. That doesn't mean they're going to obey the law. And if anybody doesn't believe that, go look up the Snowden revelations. Were they obeying the law when they were surveilling all of our citizens? Of course not. They don't have to obey laws in this country. This is meaningless gesture for UFO bros.
Namely the existence of physical materials. The amendment is just the first part of the larger plan to disclose. They hope the bill will be approved in 2024 and the panel will function until 2030. He says to watch if it passes, then if it does, watch for the public disclosures of the decisions of the panel. In the questions after Jacques Vallée criticized by the legislation due to the eminent domain clauses, asking Carl if they will come to take the physical samples he has collected and the ones in the labs here at Stanford and other universities. Quote, this is not how science is done, he said.
Yeah, according to I think as I read the Schumer Amendment, they could go anywhere where people have what they claim are alien crash retrieval pieces and just take them, I think.
He also said that after Condon, a bunch of evidence disappeared. How can they trust that the government will do proper science with it? Now, I wasn't present at this.
Yeah, Jacques Vallée, a man who sold a book that he claimed had proof of alien technology that turned out to be a windmill. He's doing material science and, trying to get to the truth, the alien crash retrievals. Jacques Vallée, a man who can't tell the difference between a piece of an alien spacecraft and a piece of a terrestrial, in other words, Earth windmill. He's the one that's studying UFO crash retrieval materials. A guy who can't tell when he's looking at a normal piece of industrial equipment, a piece of a windmill. He thought that piece of a windmill was a goddamn piece of a spaceship. Welcome to Clown World.
Symposium, so I can't say for certainty, but this individual said, and I'm going to quote, this is one of the more interesting parts of that passage. He said, that's Carl Nell, that the supporters of the legislation include people from both parties, from the Gang of Eight, and to pay attention to the fact that they are read into everything and still support the legislation. So that Gang of Eight are like the most powerful people in the Congress that theoretically are supposed to be given access to anything they want that's going on within the government.
Yeah, well, that's proven to be not the case, and there's historical examples of that. And besides, this directly conflicts with all known UFO mythology, right? Because UFOs, even the presidents aren't read in. So why would the Gang of Eight be read in if the presidents aren't read in? But again, welcome to Clown World.
So if I'm reading this correctly, they have been read into all or many of the legacy UFO programs and know all about the UFO crash retrieval program.
There's no actual evidence or proof that legacy UFO programs actually exist. There's no evidence or proof that the Gang of Eight was read into or briefed on UFO crash retrieval programs. There's no evidence of that. Again, he's just making things up because it fits his fairy tale delusional aliens are here, disclosure any day now world.
Programs on an official level. And even after having been read into all of that, they still support the legislation. So they don't think that there are any national security concerns that trump this legislation going forward. That's my read on that passage, but who knows? Now in this tweet,
and a man named UFO Jesus is an expert of how the U.S. government works, right?
Juan goes in,
and how many times was he wrong in that video I played for you first? So we should come back 5 years from now and see how wrong he is in this specific video.
By
the way, I saved it, so you can't delete this one, UFO Jesus, to hide your failures.
David Grush's presentation, who also presented at the Soul Foundation's conference. And I quote, Soul concluded a bit ago with a short but very poignant presentation by David Grush, who joined via Zoom. His key comments verbatim. Imagine a future where we no longer need to speculate about our place in the...
we covered this. I don't want to wait for him to read it.
Depiction of the presentation or speech by David Grush, and I quote, David Grush was the surprise guest speaker from Zoom. He made a nice statement about his hopes for this to result in a better future of international cooperation. Then people asked him questions. He said reverse engineered tech has been integrated into conventional programs.
No evidence of that. So these are new claims from David Grush. See, this is why I want Dave Grush to keep talking. Every time he talks, his story changes and he keeps adding on to it. Now we've got alien reverse engineered technology has been integrated into conventional programs. Great. Can we have the names of those programs? Well, I can't tell you that. Well, can we have some evidence that reverse engineered alien technology has been integrated into conventional? No, can't tell you that. It's classified probably.
He said that the phenomenon probably does not have a singular source. He sees the Schumer Amendment and nonprofits like the Soul Foundation, ASA, the New Paradigm, etc., are a parallel track to reaching the truth.
This is the same thing he said on Joe Rogan. Yeah, we need the Soul Foundation, which is filled with, or which is founded by Gary Nolan, who's been involved in completely and totally 100% fake UFO and alien stories. We need him to get to the truth. A guy who's been working with Ross Coulthart to sell completely and totally fake alien and UFO documentaries that are provably fake, right? We need him to get to the truth, right? The new paradigm, parallel track to reaching the truth.
and encourage the field to not put their eggs in one basket. He'd like to support the disclosure panel as a staffer in the future. He said he never really wanted to be a public figure, but he takes the responsibility seriously.
He never wanted to be a public figure. Well, that directly conflicts with a previous statement he made where he said he wanted to be a thought leader in this arena, in this area, in this subject. So which is it? You don't want to be a public figure, or you do want to be a thought leader? You can't have it both ways, Grush.
So I like what he says about not putting it all into one basket. This counteracts the boring narrative that some people have that the U.S. government is going to create this terrible threat narrative, and that's going to engulf us all, and we're all going to buy into it. Well, no,
he bought into the UFO threat narrative pushed by Elizondo and TTSA and Christopher Mellon. Anybody remember that? He was wrong about that too.
As Grush said, there's not a singular track. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. It's not just going to be the government that helps us get to the bottom of this. It's also going to be private organizations that are going to help us get to the bottom of this.
All of which are looking for funding. This Soul Foundation is looking for funding right now. Ryan Graves' organization, Americans for Safe Aerospace, is also looking for funding. Lou Elizondo, right? He had Skyfort and some other organizations that were also looking for government contracts and funding. Everybody's trying to get funding, right? We need money to get to those aliens, man. You know what we need to bring you disclosure? A few million more dollars. Then we can bring you disclosure for sure.
It's not just going to be, by the way, the United States. It's going to be a collective effort of every country on this world. People are.
That's interesting. In this last video that we played from 5 years ago, he said that it would be a collective effort. It was going to be a collective effort of multiple countries and the United States and Tom DeLonge and Lou Elizondo and Hal Puthoff and To the Stars Academy and Christopher Mellon were going to bring us disclosure all together. And none of that shit happened. And now he's saying the same thing again. Oh, it's going to be a multinational effort to bring us disclosure. Well, you said that 5 years ago and you were completely and totally wrong, Jesus. So which is it? Were you wrong 5 years ago or are you wrong now? I'm betting he's going to be wrong both times. He said the exact same thing in the video we just played you earlier in the broadcast from 5 years ago. Multinational effort to bring disclosure. All these other countries are going to work with the United States and TTSA and yeah. And none of that happened. He was completely and totally wrong 5 years ago. And if I was a betting man, and I'm not, I don't gamble, but if I was going to gamble, I'd gamble that he's wrong here.
So obsessed with their little narratives that, in my opinion, often don't make very much sense. But the other thing I wanted to say.
1 second. Let me just check in with you guys. All right, I apologize. I don't know who, but somebody was calling me. I forgot to put my phone here on Do Not Disturb. Let me do that. I apologize, friends. Amy WC, I missed that. Thank you, Amy WC, for your kindness, generosity, and support. We appreciate you. Thanks for appreciating us and helping us to praise the cash. Longtime show supporter, Amy WC, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Amy.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Okay, so we're just about finished with this, I think.
Say is that eventually the Soul Foundation will put these presentations on YouTube, so we won't have to rely on people's notes. But it's kind of cool to get this out now. And
yeah, they're going to they wouldn't let anybody film or take pictures because they're going to put these talks in monetized YouTube videos, because nothing says we're here for disclosure like we can't let you hear this information unless we're getting paid. We can't let you hear any of these talks unless you're getting paid, right?
To get you abreast of is that the correct word? To get you abreast of what is taking place the best I can, and then when it comes out on YouTube, you'll have a perfect copy of it. There's not much else to say than that.
There's not much else to say except UFO Jesus was wrong about virtually everything that he's ever spoken about on his channel. At least every video I've ever watched, he was wrong about. It usually takes a while before you realize he was wrong about everything. Not 5 years, usually a few months, right? Because all this guy UFO Jesus does is repeat the propaganda coming from the grifters that are all here for money. And when you trust grifters to tell you the truth and just repeat it as truth, you look foolish. And just as foolish as UFO Jesus looked in that video we played from 5 years ago, in a year or two, he's going to look just as foolish for co-signing this steaming pile of bullshit.
The Seoul Foundation's first UFO symposium is utterly historical.
Yeah, this guy said that TTSA was historical as well. A historical example of how not to get scammed out of your money with a shady company, maybe, right? Oh, the Soul Foundation. This is a history making moment. Sure it is, UFO Jesus. You said that about Lou Elizondo. You said that about those shitty 3 Pentagon videos. You said that about TTSA. You said that about a lot of things, and you were wrong every time.
And from my perspective, is yet another escalation in this process.
He titled the previous video I played for you, Disclosure Within Days. That was 5 years ago. Now he put disclosure is coming in the thumbnail of this video that I'm playing you now. It must be coming on the backs of some goddamn snails. Right? Like, how many years are you going to do this, Jesus? How many years are you going to repeat the talking points of proven liars, proven scammers who keep getting caught selling completely and totally fake stories, right? How many completely and totally fake stories did you help promote and co-sign? You should be ashamed of yourself. You should erase yourself from the internet. That being said, just to be clear, I don't wish any harm on this man. I just wish that he finds something better to do with his time than to help UFO scammers scam people, or to help UFO scammers sell completely and totally fake narratives, fake stories, misinformation, disinformation, false information, and fake information. This man
increased its speed.
Oh, we've increased the speed of disclosure by letting a bunch of people that have provably been caught selling fake stories get together at a conference and circle jerk each other off for days. That we just increased the speed of disclosure. How do we do that? We got a lot of grifters in here. We're going to push this disclosure cart scam faster now because we've got Leslie Keene in here who's been caught selling fake stories. We've got Ross Coulthard in here who's been caught selling fake stories. We've got Jacques Vallée who's been caught selling a whole book based on a completely and totally fake story. We've got Christopher Mellon who told fake stories with TTSA and said that a balloon was an alien spaceship in order to get investment capital. We were supposed to have Elizondo. He didn't show up. He got caught lying to the New York Times about running a fake Pentagon UFO program that he never ran. We've got Gary Nolan, who's been involved in completely and totally fake UFO stories for cash in here, right? Who else do we got? A lot more. We've just increased the speed of disclosure by having all these proven liars, all these people who's been involved in pushing false narratives, disinformation, misinformation, fake information, and false information. With all their help, all of us getting together like this, we're pushing disclosure faster now. Well, that's good to know. All you got to do to make disclosure go faster is get more grifters. There's plenty of them out there. You guys should have a bigger conference.
On December 16th, 2017. And I guess technically this process began whenever the US government or any other government recognized we are not alone through whatever means that occurred, crash retrieval or otherwise. But the process, in my opinion, is coming to an end.
The process is coming to an end. Disclosure is coming. Dude, I don't understand, because in the video that we played from 5 years ago, you said, you put on the thumbnail, disclosure within days. I think. I'm checking right now. I want to make sure that I want to make sure that I'm not inaccurately reporting. Some of us actually care about getting our facts right. Jesus, right? I should have did this as UFO Lucifer. I just now realized. You guys, if you're unaware, I have a character, UFO Lucifer, and I've done several videos showing how inaccurate and how this guy, Jesus, just lies through his teeth and doesn't fact check anything. And I did it as the character of Lucifer, because if there's going to be a UFO Jesus, then I guess I'm a UFO Lucifer. Oh, no. 5 years ago, he titled the video, Disclosure is About to Happen. Disclosure is about to happen. And then also 5 years ago, I'm going to show you this in a moment.
And the realization that we're not alone and that we're being engaged by non-human civilizations is upon us.
Oh, the realization is upon us. We just don't have any proof of it. Have you realized that non-humans are interacting with humans? You should realize it by now, even though we don't have any evidence of that, not a single solitary shred of any verifiable proof of that. It's upon us, according to UFO Jesus, a clown who's been wrong for the past 6 or 7 or 8 years, that disclosure's coming any day now. But this time it's really coming. This time disclosure's definitely coming.
And I suppose it will be the most interesting era of human history since the beginning of time.
Oh, more speculation. What if it's not interesting? What if the aliens come and try to fuck us in the ass and eat us? What if that's the real disclosure, right? What if the disclosure is that the aliens are going to come here and butt bang us and eat us? What if that's the disclosure, Jesus? Are you going to be happy with disclosure if it means you're getting butt probed, butt banged, and eaten by a reptilian alien? I don't think that would make many of the disclosure bros happy, but I think a few of them would probably enjoy a butt bang by a big reptilian alien.
And with that, I ask that you don't forget to subscribe, because as this continues, you're probably not going to want to miss my updates. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can check out my merch shop where I sell t-shirts. You can become a YouTube member. You can.
Yeah, this is so offensive to all Christians the world over. This is him depicted as Jesus on a t-shirt. Way to go, man. Way to go. And why are you even why aren't Christian organizations going to YouTube and stopping you from selling offensive material?
You could become a patron. You give me a one-time donation. All those potentialities can be accessed in the description box below.
Donate to my bullshit card. Donate to my bullshit
slap a like
card.
on this bad boy, and I will appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.
Nice. All right. So I'm going to show you something right now because I think this is important. This constant disclosure is coming any day now has been happening. Some of these people have been saying that for so many years. It's absolutely ridiculous. Listen, you're about to lose your disclosure boner, right? 5 years ago, disclosure is about to happen. It didn't. Also 5 years ago, proof disclosure is coming, right? 5 years ago, disclosure is here. This is a video titled Just Disclosure. Here he calls UFO skeptics incredibly stupid. Meanwhile, he's been wrong about everything in the whole history of his channel, right? Oh, look, Donald Trump will disclose the alien presence. Donald Trump will disclose the alien presence in 2018. That's 5 years ago. He was wrong about that. The world is about to change. He was wrong about that. Secure Team 10 is wrong about Tom DeLonge. To the best of my knowledge, no, Secure Team 10 was not wrong about Tom DeLonge. So I guess Jesus was wrong about that too. Free energy will change everything. 5 years ago. Who will disclose first? Trump or Putin? Neither of them have disclosed anything. He was wrong about that. Will disclosure happen in 2018? Bad news for you, Jesus. Disclosure didn't happen. 5 years ago, disclosure is happening. This is all clickbait. Every one of his videos is clickbait garbage. Let's just put disclosure on it, right? These two we covered before. He lied through his teeth about Bob Lazar for 45 minutes straight, and I destroyed him on these two videos. You can check our previous videos. Just search for UFO Jesus in the search bar. Disclosure in 2019. Now we're up to 4 years ago. It didn't happen in 2018. Now it's going to happen in 2019. Wrong. He was wrong. We have a crashed UFO. Luis Elizondo admits the U.S. government has alien artifacts. He's never proved that. You were wrong about that. Or we've been waiting 4 years for the evidence of it. Right? Great. It's going down. Disclosure begins. Congress gets briefed on UFOs. I thought you said disclosure is coming. What did he say? Disclosure is about to happen. Now we're years later, and he's saying disclosure is happening years after he first said it. This is a joke. This guy is a clown show joke, and he's been wrong about everything. Disclosure is heating up. No, it's not. I just think it's comical how many times he says disclosure is imminent. Here we got 3 years ago. Disclosure is coming. And UFO disclosure in 2020. And here he's referencing Leslie Keene, who keeps getting caught selling completely and totally fake stories, right? The Elizondo story, fake. Eric Davis story, fake. No evidence. That's who he's quoting. UFO wackadoos with no evidence. Great. But don't worry, disclosure's coming, right? Elizondo drops UFO bombshells. Did I miss the UFO bombshells that Elizondo dropped? All I saw is Elizondo filling his pockets with every UFO dollar that he could get his hands on, like a greedy little pig. That's what I saw. I didn't see any UFO bombshells. Disclosure soon. He loves that title, disclosure soon. He uses that a lot. That's clickbait garbage. Disclosure in December. That's 2 years ago. That didn't happen. Right? Great. UFO disclosure heating up. No, it's not. Disclosure on June 25th. No, that didn't happen, Jesus. That didn't happen. Right? That did not happen. UFO lies end. Yeah, that I'll give him. UFO lies. That's good. Disclosure update. What's the update? It didn't come yet. Here's my disclosure update. Disclosure didn't come yet. We haven't collected enough millions of dollars yet to bring you send some more money. We'll bring you disclosure, you stupid people. Just keep sending more money, right? Disclosure is inevitable. That was a year ago. This one's just titled Disclosure. And he's covering TTSA people there. You know, the people that collected millions of dollars and lied and said they were going to build a spaceship with a revolutionary power source, right? Then he interviewed Elizondo. And by the way, I went through this whole thing. He never asked him once for proof that he ran a government Pentagon UFO program. Oh, look, he's interviewing Bryce Zabel. That's Ross Coulthard's partner in Slime, right? Yeah, UFO proof. There's no proof in this video. I checked. Smoking gun UFO videos coming out this year. No smoking gun UFO videos came out. Wrong again, Jesus. Jesus Christ. How many times can Jesus be wrong, right? But look, he does get all the interviews with the Griff Squad. Isn't that nice? James Fox, Lou Elizondo, Christopher Mellon. Yeah, it must be nice to be able to get those big interviews. But what you have to do is keep your mouth shut about all the shady shit that these people are up to. And don't ask them real questions. Just kiss their ass. Aliens are here 100%. No, they're not. This is 6 months ago he was wrong. Here he's calling Grush a disclosure warrior. Now we have the disclosure countdown. Boy, I hope it's a long countdown because this is 5 years of this, right? It's great. UFO truth to Congress. We didn't get any UFO truth. Disclosure is coming. I just wanted to show you this so you understand how long this guy's running the long grift game, you know? It's ridiculous. Now, don't worry though, disclosure is coming someday, maybe. I mean, I don't know. And, you know, talk about crying wolf. How many times is this Jesus character going to tell us that disclosure is imminent so that people click on his videos so that he can make money? And by the way, I just want to tell him as a Christian, you modeling yourself after Jesus is highly offensive to billions of Christians around the world. And it shows that you're a clown, right? It shows that you're a complete and total clown. And by the way, somebody told me he's Jewish. Can I just mock the Jewish religion on my t-shirts? Would that be okay? No, that would be considered anti-Semitism. I can't do that. I can't, you know, I wouldn't do it anyway. I wouldn't do it publicly or privately. But this man is publicly mocking the religion of billions of people on planet Earth by modeling himself in the style of Jesus. It shows you what a clown. And if you want to talk about the clown world that we're in, this is clown world. And we know we're in clown world because one of the biggest cheerleaders for UFO disclosure is a person that's called UFO Jesus. Like nothing says credible like having UFO Jesus be your spokesperson, right? To tell everybody about disclosure. This man has been wrong about everything. And he was wrong about TTSA. He was wrong about Lou Elizondo, wrong about Mellon, wrong about Leslie Kean, wrong about Tom DeLonge, wrong about Coulthard. Where's your reporting on all the fake stories Coulthard has pushed? Where's your reporting on how Leslie Kean's entire original New York Times article was filled with lies, fabrications, half-truths, fake facts, and more? Where's your reporting on Gary Nolan getting caught selling a completely and totally fake story with Ross Coulthard? You know, the alien balls. Where's your reporting on Jacques Vallée getting caught selling a book that is completely and totally filled with lies, a completely and totally fake story? Where's your reporting on Avi Loeb? He also was a big cheerleader for Avi Loeb, right? Where's your reporting on Avi Loeb still selling a book with a completely and totally busted theory about an alien spacecraft in our solar system? By the way, Avi Loeb is another one of the speakers at the Soul Foundation. Wasn't he? I believe he was. So isn't it great? We've got all of these people at this Soul Foundation that have many of which have been caught selling fake stories, disinformation, misinformation, fake information for cash, selling books that are completely and totally full with fake information in the form of Avi Loeb and Jacques Vallée. Then we've got Ross Coulthard and Gary Nolan, who've been caught selling a completely and totally fake alien and UFO story. Then we've got Christopher Mellon, who was part of the TTSA techno scam. Then we've got Hal Puthoff, who was part of the TTSA techno scam. All of them are at the Soul Foundation and speaking, and the Soul Foundation wants you to give them your money so that all of these people that are so deceptive and shady can bring you UFO disclosure. I'm here to tell you that you should not be fooled by these people. They've all fooled everybody before. If you let them fool you again, it's your fault for not educating yourself. And anybody reporting on this Soul Foundation, including circle jerker extraordinaire Matt Bangkok from the Good Propaganda Show, or that UFO podcast circle jerker, or UFO Jesus circle jerker, anybody who's reporting on this Soul Foundation that does not include all of the information that I gave you tonight is a lying piece of shit. There, I said it. A lie by omission is still a lie. And this is how the UFO scam works on people. because you've got all these people willing to leave all this information that I shared with you tonight. Why is nobody reporting that most of the speakers at this event, there was a few real scientists, PhDs. One, I think, is a PhD in theology. He talked about theological implications. I'm not talking about them, but we've got all these UFO grifters speaking at this conference. Leslie Keene, Hal Puthoff, all Ross Coulthart was there. Jacques Vallée was there. Gary Nolan is the head of this organization. He's been caught selling fake stories. All these people that get caught selling fake stories. Avi Loeb has a book still on Amazon that claims an alien spaceship is flying through our solar system. It's been completely and totally disproven. A reputable scientist would apologize for having a theory that he got wrong and take the book down and stop making money off of a lie. Has Avi Loeb done that? Not to my knowledge, he hasn't. Why is nobody reporting this about all these people at the Seoul conference? Could it be because some disclosure bros live in a delusional fairy tale land, a delusional world of literal delusion? You're delusional if you think these people that keep getting caught lying for UFO cash are going to bring you any truth. How many times do they got to lie to you before you go, these people are liars? They're using deception. They're not going to bring us the truth. It's a game of Lucy and the football, right? Oh no, disclosure's really coming this time. This whistleblower will be different. And we have detailed for you, we have 2 videos. I think it's 14 different whistleblowers, all making incredibly the same claims as Grush, or very near to his claims, very similar claims, all of which collected a lot of money for years and none of which delivered any kind of real evidence or any kind of disclosure. And again, anybody that is reporting on the Seoul Foundation and not including information about how many people speaking there or involved with this event or even in the audience have been caught selling fake information, disinformation, false information, misinformation, completely and totally fake stories. Anybody that's doing a show about this Seoul Foundation and the disclosure timeline and all this nonsense, if they leave out that all these people have been caught selling lies before, then they're part of the lie. Wake up, bitches! All right. So, I zigged when I should have zagged. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. I want to remind you that we are a viewer-supported show. And unlike other people that keep getting caught lying and they want your money, we have a very good track record here of giving you the facts and the whole story. How many people brought you the real story of these speakers and these people involved with this Seoul Foundation event? To my knowledge, I'm the only one that has done that on YouTube or any other platform on the internet. And I stand by what I've said. And by the way, any of those people are welcome to come here and debate me on their history of selling lies. They're all welcome. We have an open door here, but they won't come here because they will piss themselves in a puddle under real questions because they all live in an echo chamber delusional fantasy world where they're not liars, where they haven't been caught selling completely and totally fake stories over and over and over and over again. You know, this is the thing. It gets more and more ridiculous the longer I watch this so-called disclosure movement. And remember, this is just one faction of the disclosure movement. You've also got Stephen Greer, who's collected millions of dollars over 30 years and has never proven anything. You've got Lou Elizondo. He's going to try to sell a book claiming that he was a Pentagon UFO program director. He never had any official responsibilities within the government around UFOs. He never ran an official government program. He's another one, right? That may be why he was absent. I hear that he's I hear that he doesn't really want to do public appearances because he's afraid of questions about his history and about perhaps not being honest with the New York Times about what his responsibilities really were with the New York Times. but I don't know if that's true. Call that speculation. So we're going to take a quick break just to remind you that we're a viewer-supported show, but I always have to do this. We're coming back for comments and questions from the live show. The show is not over. Don't go anywhere. We do have to remind you we're a viewer-supported show, much in the PBS model. So if you're feeling generous and you're tired of people giving you the bullshit half of the story and not giving you the facts that I've laid out for you tonight, then please do throw a couple bucks in my hat, because we are facing a tremendous obstacle. There is a mountain of bullshit ahead of me, and I got to get through it. And it would help to have some resources to do it with. We thank all of our kind and generous benefactors for their kindness and generosity and support of the show. I'll be right back to take comments and questions from the live chat. Get your comments and questions ready. Please put them in all capital letters. I'll be right back.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like, and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
Greetings and salutations. That wasn't so bad. See, we are back. We want to thank all of our kind and generous benefactors. Here's one I did not read. For those unaware, we read every single super chat. We thank every single person. Nivok Spilkamen, I think I said that right, with a kind and generous £2, says, exit via the grift shop. Thanks for putting a smile on my face, Nivik, and thank you for the support. And of course, we want to thank you for helping us to praise the cash, as we like to do here. All around the world, people are tired of these deception, these layers of deception. And I'm so thankful for the help and support so that we can help peel back those layers of deception and maybe open a few eyes. Thanks for opening a few tonight with your help, Nivik, and everybody. We want to thank all of you for your help. We're praising the cash tonight, friends. And just a moment, I want to thank all of you for your kindness, generosity, and support, especially you YouTube channel members. By the way, if you become a YouTube channel member during the live broadcast, we give you a shout out and a big thank you as well. And I will quickly check in on something. Get your comments and questions for me ready in the live chat. If this is your first time, I often ask for people to put comments or questions for me in all capital letters. For those unaware, I'm partially blind, so I'm visually impaired. It really does help if you put your comments or questions in all capital letters. It helps me quickly identify, right? Spooky says, that grift shop pun is fresh. Oh, that's cool. I'm going to try to reach out to him. I have to go to his house in New Jersey to get an in-person interview because he's very old and not very tech savvy. So I'm going to try to do that Third Coast swing. We're going to do a follow-up to that story. He says, really enjoyed McGuire Air Force Base story. Thank you. And oh, by the way, I'm going to promote a little bit. I have some extra goodies for everybody for this week. For those unaware, we've been doing these replays, but I have heard the feedback. And one of the when we did the replays the first few times, it was confusing for people because it's a rerun. It's from a while ago, but I'm talking to the live chat on the recording. But a lot of those people, or many of them, or all of them, for all I know, I don't know, many of them, people come and go. They're not in the live chat, so it was confusing. Like, people are trying to ask me questions, not realizing it was a replay. If you see TS Classics on it, it means it's a replay. But what I've done is I've begun editing them a little bit more. So I'm cutting out, for the longest time when we started the show, just like now, I would do a whole presentation and then I would talk to the live chat, sometimes for 20 minutes, sometimes for a half hour, sometimes for 2 hours. But it was confusing for people to have that interaction with the live chat from ages ago. So I've cut those as much as I can. Sometimes I'm taking comments during the presentation. But anyway, a lot of times there's an hour of me talking to a live chat from before. It was confusing. I've cut those out. So we've got quite the weekend of interesting stuff for you for this weekend. 11/23 would be tomorrow night. Okay, so I was thinking about doing a panel show tomorrow night, and I know Spooky's in the audience, and it always makes me work, but I'm resisting that temptation because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. I'm going to spend some quality time with my family and then do some other things. But I've got something for you. This is awesome. This is one of my favorites because it's just, this woman is so ridiculous. She was one of our wackadoos of the week. For those unaware, occasionally I find a video where somebody is talking such crazy smack that we make them our wackadoo of the week, and we go through it, and it is a laugh riot. This is a previous show repackaged for your viewing pleasure now. It's going to be tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. So after you get your turkey on, come here. I will be in the live chat at 9 p.m. Eastern. Somebody, Zippo Fanatic 77 is already in this live chat asking, how much is a ticket? Get your ticket for the Kerry Cassidy Crazy Train. This woman is talking about like the United States is getting invaded by China, but nobody knows it, and Trump is still president. And it is a laugh riot. And I highly encourage you, be here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'll be in the live chat, and I hope that you will be as well. And then on Friday night, this is one of my all-time favorite episodes of Truthseekers. This is Let's All Laugh at Kerry Cassidy and Stephen Greer arguing about aliens. These two UFO clown grifters get into such an incredible argument. It is just wonderful. They're arguing essentially over whose UFO bullshit is better. It's just great. So if you've never heard of this, it's kind of a famous video. Kerry Cassidy interviewed Stephen Greer, but she was very upset with him about some things he had said. So they got into this big heated argument. It is a laugh riot. I'll be in the live chat for that as well. That's Friday night. So we've got tomorrow night, 9 p.m., Friday night, 9 p.m. Sorry about that. I somehow threw myself out of my own stream. I clicked the back button on the wrong tab. So let me cue this up. On Saturday night, I've got a real banger for all of you. This was I did a whole series of videos, like Truthseeker shows, and they were about all my favorite fake psychics. And this is a very information-rich broadcast. So I've taken that whole series of videos I did on fake psychics and cut them together. This is, I think it is a 5-hour deep dive. It's everything you always wanted to know about fake psychics and how they trick people and how their stupid tricks work. Remember, I'm a former stage magician and mentalist, and many of these clowns use magic tricks, just like Uri Geller got caught using magic tricks multiple times. So I've cut them all together, and Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, my favorite fake psychics, a deep dive into Uri Geller, Sylvia Brown, James Van Prague, Teresa Caputo, and John Edward. Now, I'm not sure that Uri Geller ever claimed that he was speaking to dead people. I don't think he has, but the rest of these people claim to be mediums, which I find to be a particularly scammy, shady thing. All of them, they feed off of people's grief. You know, old lady loses her husband. She's in sorrow. She's in a state of grief. Well, if you give me $300, I'll connect you to your dead husband. It is one of the worst scams. Mediums are one of my all-time most hated New Age scams. Because if you think about it, they're really, really, they're just taking advantage of grieving people. And, if somebody just lost their husband, most people's first thought isn't, how can I scam this old lady out of some money? But it is for some of these people, and Uri Geller's a whole other case. So we go through and show their fakery, fraudery, and bullshittery case by case with evidence. It's very information-packed and rich. And I'll also have a show at 9 p.m. on Sunday, but I haven't posted it yet. I've rendered it. I haven't posted it yet. Yeah, Randy wants to know just how long. We'll take some comments and questions. Please put them in all capital letters. How long will the Grush grift last? I'm going to give it a few more years. The lifetime of most of these grifters is 5 years or less. Most burn out, right? I don't know, but I'm going to keep my countdown. We're up to 170 days. By the way, I love posting that on YouTube or posting that countdown that I've been posting. I love posting it on Twitter because the true believers are losing their goddamn minds at me. And I'm not even replying to most of them. I just post it in ghosts. So what we get now, Randy, is that we are now, just for anybody keeping track at home, David Grush, 170 days, making huge claims, zero evidence shown so far. And here you see a bunch of people just repeating UFO grifter talking points. Oh, no, he gave that information to Congress. Really? And it didn't leak out? The greatest revelation of human history, that aliens are visiting Earth and nobody from Congress leaked it? Sure. No, there's no evidence, because my working theory, and it's really turning out to be a good one, is that Dave Grush has no new, or his so-called 40 witnesses are all UFO wackadoos. People like Hal Puthoff, people like Eric Davis, people like Travis Taylor. And I'm not the only one to think that. Stephen Greenstreet posted something a few days ago, I think, basically saying the same thing. Yeah. We'll share this tab. So it turns out UFO whistleblower Dave Grush was inspired, influenced, and informed by Lou Elizondo, Leslie Keane, Jay Stratton, Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis, Travis Taylor, George Knapp, and Jeremy Corbell. Wait, let me check just to make sure. Except for Jay Stratton, all of these people have been involved in completely and totally fake alien and UFO stories. So all of the people that are inspiring, influencing, and informing him are all people that have been caught lying to sell fake alien and UFO stories, with the possible exception of Jay Stratton. I'm not familiar enough with him to tell you that he lied to sell fake alien or UFO stories, but it is what it is. This is Grush sitting with the UFO grift squad, right? And you got to love it. He's sitting with Lou Elizondo, the man who lied about running a Pentagon UFO program, Leslie Keane, the woman who wrote the article lying in the New York Times about Lou Elizondo running a Pentagon UFO program. Jay Stratton, we'll skip him for now. I have a separate video for him I'm preparing. Hal Puthoff, the guy that I talked about earlier in the broadcast, that is in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. He's in the Encyclopedia of American Loons. That's one of the people influencing and informing Grush. Eric Davis, the liar, who said that he briefed members of Congress or something like that. He briefed government members about non-human craft in the possession of the United States government. That was some 3 years ago. He never proved anything. And he works for Hal Puthoff, who we talked about earlier in the broadcast, the man who was fooled by children's magic tricks into believing people have superpowers, who claimed in a Scientology document that he achieved superpowers himself. He's a remote viewer. By the way, Lou Elizondo also has superpowers. Then there's Travis Taylor, the wackadoo who can't tell the difference between a fly flying by a camera and a spaceship, alien spaceship going 40,000 miles an hour. Then there's George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, who constantly get caught selling completely and totally fake stories. And let's not forget that the principal person who first really pushed and sold this story is Ross Coulthard, who's been caught selling at least 5 completely and totally fake stories in the past few years. These are the people that Dave Grush is surrounding himself with. So you're expecting to get the truth out of a man who is surrounding himself with all these people that are constantly deceiving people? You must not be very bright if you think you're going to get the truth out of a man. I try to not judge people by who their friends are, but wouldn't it be a fair statement to say that if somebody's friends are all proven liars, that kind of means you probably shouldn't trust that the things that they're saying are truthful? Look at him. He's sitting with the Griff Squad here. I don't want to comment on Jay Stratton because I have a separate video about him and I don't want to get my facts wrong. But all the people he's sitting with here have been caught selling fake stories, except for Jay Stratton. And I'll have more details on that later. So he may not be excluded. So I guess my point is you're not getting the truth about anything out of a guy who's surrounded by liars, who's being influenced by liars, who's being informed by liars, who's being inspired by liars. You're not getting the truth out of that guy. I don't believe you will. Or at least if this guy's surrounded by liars, proven liars, by the way, and that's another thing. You UFO disclosure dorks don't like facts. What I said is a factual statement. George Knapp has been caught selling a completely and totally fake story about UFOs and aliens. Travis Taylor has been caught selling a completely and totally fake stories about UFOs and aliens and skinwalkers, right? The Skinwalker Ranch guy. Jeremy Corbell has been caught selling completely and totally fake stories about aliens. Leslie Keene has been caught selling completely and totally fake stories about aliens. A lot of the people at the Soul Foundation are the same group of people. It's the same group, right? So you people who think you're getting the truth out of people who keep getting caught lying to everyone, I'm fascinated by that, right? Like, so what do you think they're all going to like suddenly have a kumbaya moment and stop lying and suddenly start telling the truth? What would that be like? I just don't understand how people think that they're going to get disclosure out of the truth about anything out of a man who's surrounded by all these proven liars. I don't really understand it. Arctic Zun is here and says, I had my first real UFO sighting 3 or 4 weeks ago. I always wondered why there is so little legitimate footage on this phenomenon. But all I can say is filming the thing has been on my mind. It was much more than just some lights in the sky. It was a profound experience that I didn't just see with my eyes, but I could feel a strong, unfamiliar sensation throughout my whole body. Did it feel like electrical? Let me know, Arctic Sun. Did you feel or did you smell ozone in the air? Did the hair on the back of your neck stand up as if from static electricity? I need to know this. Let me know. Potatoes Pancake says he's probably the head liar. And especially when they're spewing BS out of their mouths. Yeah. Potatoes Pancakes also says, no, we have to judge people by who their friends are. It's fair. Yeah. Bobby Broadway says Greer is the grift giver. Yeah, absolutely. Patty says the truth is bad for business. Yeah, absolutely. Kimmy 77. I never know how to say it. I always want to say Kimmy, but KMMI should be Kimmy, right? Kimmy 77. I fantasize about the day when there was only one comment on every UFO grifter video saying, show us an actual alien or spaceship or shut up. Yeah, I guess that's right. Ardent Paranormal, our one and only moderator here now. Thanks for doing that, by the way. Everybody give a thank you to Ardent Paranormal. She keeps it civil in there. Reminding everybody to follow me on Twitter. It's at Stephen Cambion, just my name, at Stephen Cambion. It's a good idea to follow me on Twitter. Also a good idea to check out our website. It's truthseekershow.com. Truthseekershow.com. And from there, you can get all the latest audio and video episodes. By the way, I want to thank all of our audio listeners because in the past 4 so months, our audio podcast has really started to pop off. We're getting, 30% more downloads than we did a few months ago. And I don't know why that is. I wish I knew. The internet is a mystery even to me, and I'm a computer science guy. Sometimes I just, I have been posting the show on more places, but you never know if that's effective. A good rule of thumb is for every 100 things you put out, one person becomes a buyer. In other words, if I posted 100 places, you get one viewer, which tells you the challenge that I'm facing in promoting the show. I'd have to post it thousands of places, and that's another issue. A lot of these a lot of these alien and UFO Facebook groups have 50,000 members. I'm not allowed to post in them. They don't like it. They just delete my posts. But if you're Gomer or Jimmy Church or anybody else that's doing the UFO circle jerk and helping the liars. You can post all you want and promote your show. That's another reason why these people have such a larger platform than somebody that's doing it honestly, because it's a delusional fairy tale world and an echo chamber. They don't want you coming in there with your facts and evidence and ruining their delusion. But we've been popping delusion bubbles for years here now, several years, and tonight we may have popped one more. Pop. Okay. Third Coast Swings says, I've been seeing drones lately. I'm convinced. Interestingly, I had a drone at the cabin, and it made my neighbors so nervous that I stopped. There's very private people where my cabin is, and they saw a drone, and I don't think they liked it. And it was a junker drone too. It wasn't a really good one, and it wasn't doing well in the wind. It wasn't very, very good, So I want to remind you, hit that like button on the way out if you have not already. And by the way, I want to thank Stephen Greenstreet because I stole that Christopher Mellon, that funny King of the Hill. He made that, and I stole it. I freely admit it. I guess it's fair use, but I should thank him. And also, I want to thank Simon Fly for the wonderful music videos. We'll play one on the way out as well. We want to thank our chat room moderator, Arden Paranormal, and we want to thank our Patreon supporters. We want to thank you, YouTube channel members. Oh, by the way, I missed one, didn't I? Yeah, I did. I thought I missed one. I thought I saw somebody pop up as a Sunny Biatch 11 became a Praise the Cash member. Oh, maybe it wasn't during this broadcast, but it was during. It's popped up in the premiere videos that we have. So Sunny Biatch 11, we thank you for becoming a YouTube channel member, and of course for helping us to praise the cash. So we've done our due diligence, friends. I am gonna bounce on out of here. I can't tell you how I'm looking forward to tomorrow, because my wife is making a huge turkey breast, and I love turkey breast. And she got a big enough one that there's going to be plenty of turkey leftovers. And one of my favorite things in the universe is just turkey breast on toast with mayonnaise. No cheese. Maybe I'll throw a couple olives on it, or a pickle. But I love turkey and turkey on toast. It's one of my favorite things. And Thanksgiving and Christmas, we always have turkey. Tomorrow, I'm sure my wife is preparing a grand feast. It's just us and the boys, but she's going to be going to her mother's later in the evening. So we're going to have an early dinner, which I love because you kind of eat turkey dinner for lunch and then eat a turkey dinner for dinner. You got to have plenty. And I'm very thankful, by the way, for all of you, for all of the support. I'm thankful for the encouragement that we get here. For people telling me, keep going, get those grifters or whatever. A few kind words go a long way. I have to tell you that a few weeks ago, we were under, I would call it pretty tremendous attacks, not just from people outside of the show, but even from people inside of the show. A bunch of mods got in this big, huge battle, caused all this drama, and by the way, I just want to tell those people that started all that drama, fuck you very much. Fuck you. Because right when I'm getting attacked by multiple people, big attacks, what I don't need is people from within my Discord, within my inner circle to then start attacking me or, causing more problems. And that's kind of what happened. And that's why you'll notice there's no more, bunch of mods. We've just got one. It's all we need. So, I was feeling pretty discouraged, but I'm glad to say that I'm over it. This week I felt like my old self again, right? Dana is here. Haven't seen you in a while, Dana Shackleton. It's good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving, Dana. UFO Jesus is so corny. He looks like he needs a shower, too. I bet you he does. That dude just looks like B.O. He looks like B.O. He needs a shower too. That stupid UFO flute. I would like to stick up his ass. Yeah, he's bizarre too. His videos are stupid. He talks like he's black. He's so corny. Yeah, not a fan. And you know, I don't think that he quite realizes the damage that he's doing, repeating lies constantly, right? And unacceptable views is here. And I don't like your comment, but I will allow it. He says, I'm thankful I'm not American because I hate turkey. Well, send your turkeys over here. I'll eat them, right? Operation Shutdown, longtime show supporter is here. Welcome. Says, happy Thanksgiving, Stephen. We are thankful for you. Yeah, and I'm thankful for you, Operation Shutdown. I'm always glad to see you there in the live chat. Spooky says, as a former mod, I endorse this decision. Oh, and by the way, I just want to mention, I don't really want anybody asking me for wrenches back because I don't want to do it. So if you want to make me feel uncomfortable and make me feel bad, like I have to explain this shit, then ask me for your wrench back. Otherwise, just please respect my decision. We don't need 5 or 8 people in there. Because it just got to be chaos, you know. And by the way, you know, I have no hard feelings towards anybody that was involved in our Discord or whatever. I wish you all the best, but it was just terrible timing to start all that right when we're under attack by, you know, people saying X, Y, or Z. Like, you know, some people really try to just destroy my reputation for a stupid reason. And this is I get it. This is the internet. I'm a public figure. People can do or say whatever they're going to say, but it was complete and total lies from somebody that had an axe to grind, right? Trying to stir the pot of shit. Let's destroy his show because my show's in the shitter, right? You got to love bitter, angry little people. But then the other drama from within Truthseekers, it was just terrible timing. And by the way, during all that stress, I had some other personal stress going on. So you never know what somebody's going through. You know, pat somebody on the back once in a while, encourage them. You know, you never know what trials and tribulations and stresses people are going through. I, for one, try to encourage people, especially with their creative endeavors. I'm a big supporter of anybody trying to do something artistic or something like that. Yeah, Algaray says no problem with mods on Twitch. You know what, Algaray? I will make you a Twitch moderator if I can figure out how to do it on the next live broadcast. You deserve it. Algaray, poor Algaray is the only one in the Twitch chat. Well, sometimes it's 2 of them, right? And sometimes there's a few. By the way, I want to thank you people in the Rumble chat. There's people in the Rumble chat, and the Rumble chat and the Pilled chat don't aggregate. So maybe we're going to make a section of the show where I remind myself to go over and thank the people in the Rumble chat, because sometimes I realize after the broadcast that people were asking me questions in the Rumble chat and I did not, you know, I did not see it. So 1 second, I'm trying to get over there. Oh, I think I got it. Okay. Yeah, and by the way, there's a few Truthseekers shows. Make sure you look for me, the Strange Galaxies. Okay, I'm not missing anything today, but in the future, I will go and check the Rumble live chat. So we want to thank all of you for your kindness, your kindness, generosity, and support. Yeah, leave me out of that, Spooky. You know what they say, it's best to let sleeping dogs lie, right? Do I brine my turkey? I think my wife got a smoked turkey this year, so all we have to do is like heat it up. We don't have to cook it for 18 hours or whatever. You know, but I got to tell you, I think some of you or all of you know I've been on this carnivore diet, and I just can't take it anymore. Like, what am I supposed to do tomorrow? Just eat turkey? No bread? No stuffing? No mashed potatoes, no gravy. I can't do it. So tomorrow's my cheat day. I decided I'm going to get up early, though, and take a walk for an hour because I'll burn some calories before I load up. And whatever you're doing tomorrow, even if, by the way, I guess you non-Americans don't really understand Thanksgiving. It's just the best holiday because you don't have to worry about gifts or anything. You just go and eat like a pig. And us men have it easy. You know, I just show up. and eat. My poor wife is going to be cooking for 5 hours, you know. But shout out to you ladies who make a nice spread for your man or your family. We really do appreciate you. And they should let you know that, though, right? Arden Paranormal says she'll just holler at me to remind me. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so if you're in a foreign country, I know it's not a holiday for you tomorrow, but I hope you have a great day. Either you know, spend some time doing something that you love. I'm definitely going to be doing something tomorrow that I love, eating like a pig. What better holiday? Only Americans could come up with a holiday like this. What's the point of the holiday? And by the way, I knew a German exchange student, and it was Thanksgiving, and he was like, I do not understand this holiday. You just eat all day? And I'm like, yeah, it's wonderful. Anyway, we've done our due diligence for this evening. I highly encourage you to get the whole story. Don't accept the UFO propaganda squad who's there for the money, or the UFO bottom feeders who are just repeating the garbage peddled stories of fraudsters. There's people like this UFO Jesus. I don't understand how he has such a big following, but then again, I do, because you know, sometimes people prefer a pretty lie to the ugly truth. That's unfortunate, but that's the way the world works. So I'm going to bounce on out of here, friends. I haven't eaten all day. I have to get something to eat, and then I'm going to hit the sack as quickly as I can to try to speed the time I have to wait for our turkey feast tomorrow. Whatever you're doing, whoever you're with, I hope you have an awesome day tomorrow. We'll be back tomorrow night at 9 p.m., but it's a replay. But I will be in the live chat. So after you've had your turkey feast or whatever you're doing, come on into the live chat and celebrate a little bit with us by laughing at Crazy Carrie Cassidy. Get on the crazy train. You're going to love this one. This is the best wackadoo of the week ever. Okay, so that's all I got for you, friends. Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will.
Mr. Grush is quite clear that he's not saying it's necessarily extraterrestrial.
Non-human origin.
That he's not saying it's necessarily extraterrestrial.
Call it spacecraft, if you will.
That he's not saying it's necessarily extraterrestrial.
Then what are you saying?
Oh, hey, little space monkey.
Non-human origin, technical vehicles, call it spacecraft, if you will.
Multiple sources.
Sources.
Multiple sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
Multiple sources.
Sources.
Multiple sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
Fighter jets were deployed.
Multiple sources.
Fighter jets were deployed. Sources. I've heard of now from 3 different people.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing.
I've heard of now from 3 different people.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. The lack of information, the lack of information, the lack of information, the lack of information.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
Intelligence sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
Intelligence sources.
The lack of information, 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 the lack of information.
Multiple sources.
Multiple sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
Multiple sources.
Multiple sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
3 sources.
Credible sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
Intelligence sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
This is an ongoing mystery.
Multiple sources.
Intelligence sources.
Now here's the deal. 1, the UFO phenomenon is not real. The UFO phenomenon is not real. Now here's the deal. 1, the UFO phenomenon is not real. The UFO
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks. Shape the emerging UAP narrative. Remember those words, folks.
I'm an intel guy. 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 I'm an intel guy.
We grifters, 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 we grifters.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
Multiple whistleblowers.
Luis Elizondo.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Remember those words.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes.
We grifters, we grifters.
Say yes. Say yes.
Luis Elizondo.
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 What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, it can't be moved. Big. What if some of that shit is so big? What if some of that shit is so big it can't be moved? Big, it can't be moved. Big. big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. In a country outside of the United States of America. Big. 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 They're too bloody 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 big. I know exactly where it is. I know exactly where it is. But it was bollocks big, 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 big. But it was bollocks big, 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 big.
David Grush is a hero, without a doubt. And everyone else, all your names, are going to be in history. All the other people. You don't think we're going to know? Your family name is going to go down in history as a piece of shit. Cowards, and you're lying sacks of shit. Honest. We know there's enough of us. And we do have decentralized. And we will burn this place down. Because we'll freak out. And we're going to freak out. We are. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Wasn't too emotional, but man.
Here, this is the new launch mount they made. It's just giant. This thing's ridiculous. And these are the oxygen tanks, liquid oxygen tanks. You can see the damage here. Mechanical, you still okay? Roger, T. Right on the line.
We got a security problem here.
This thing's ridiculous. See here, this is the new launch mount they made.
No, go ahead and cancel the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west.
Oh yeah, look at that. Very good. 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 I'm David Wilcock. I'm David Wilcock. I'm David Wilcock. Cock, cock, cock. Wow. 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 Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Wilcock. 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 It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Cock. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Cock. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Cock. It's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Cock. It's here. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Extraterrestrials, angels, angels suck. Woo! 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 Cock. 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 I'm David Wilcock.
Somber. I think there would be this big exhale for about a day. And then this turning inward and trying to reflect on what this means to us and our species and ourselves. Somber meaning serious.